with Arnold Dean. Hot talk, great guests. Weeknights at 6:15 from WTIC, Hartford.
BBC Radio, Canada's public broadcast.
Try Carter's Little Liver Pill. Good advice.
Good mornings only on KCMO Kansas City. It's 8 o'clock.
When you're tuned to CDS Radio.
This is the DX Central from the Static Podcast.
From Studio B of the North Shore Studios in Mandeville, Louisiana.
Greetings and welcome, my friends, to another edition of the From the Static Podcast. I'm your host, Lloyd Van Horn, here in Studio A of the North Shore Studios. We just wrapped up another edition of DX Central Live, our Friday night live stream devoted to all things DX, and that's where we are now bringing you Season 6, Episode 27 of DX Central Relive, our audio-only replay of our Friday night live stream. And I tell you what, we're here in FMDX season now, FMDX Preparedness Month for the month of April. And last week, we talked about Tropo. We talked about our new band scan challenge and band scans in general. This week, we changed gears. We're still staying in FM, but now we're looking at FMDX Webservers. A lot of us use like Kiwis and other online receivers for our AMDX. You can do the same thing with FMDX. And so we talk about how to do that, how to use those as a DXer, and also if you want to host one for yourself and put one up so that other DXers can DX from your location. We talk about that. We also talk about updating RDS information within SDR Console. Super, super helpful as we get into this upcoming FMDX season. Autologging through Rabbitears. How important that is to get into RDS Autologging and how you can help spot propagation, spot openings, spot sporadic E openings once the season gets going. A lot of times there's been times where that's how I caught it. That's how I knew there was an opening going on, was because of my autologger getting some of those recordings. And we'll also be talking, I think if we have some time in here, we'll talk about SDR options for high bandwidth IQ recordings for FM. So if you're looking at like those 10 megahertz recordings, when you get like half the band, you don't want to do like a little bitty spot of the band. You want to do like the half the band at least or more. We're going to talk about some options you can do that with. So bring us with you wherever you might be, or just sit back, relax, get yourself a beverage, and enjoy another episode of Season 6, episode number 27 of DX Central Relive.
Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
This is DX Central Global Industries Guide to Sporadic E Seasonal Cohabitation. This is living with the ionosphere. Meet John. John is a father, a husband, and a productive member of society. But now it is late April, and the E layer is beginning to change. Soon, John, too, will undergo a startling transformation. When the sporadic E arrives next month, your loved one may start to exhibit the glaze. They will stop responding to their name. They might stare at a computer screen as if it contains the secrets of the universe. Do not be alarmed. This is natural. To assist the family, we offer the DX Central Spouse Shield. It's a wearable headset for family members that plays a continuous loop of a simulated local station ID. So you can trick the DXer in your home into believing the band has closed and they should come downstairs to dinner. Warning, do not attempt to move the DXer's coffee mug while they are riding the skip. A sudden change in desktop geography can lead to a sync-loss temper tantrum, a condition where the DXer believes they have missed a rare catch from Belize, even when the only sound coming through the speakers is static. Remember, a quiet house is a logged house. Support your DXer. Provide them with snacks. And never, ever ask, isn't that just static?
Living with the Ionosphere is a subsidiary of DX Central Global Industries. Film strip number 402 is not responsible for divorces, burnt dinners, or the sudden appearance of 100-foot towers in the backyard. Reality is a shared hallucination. Consult your local Elmer if symptoms of double hop persist longer than 48 hours.
It's a Friday night, rolling in the North Shore, setting frequencies right. AM and FM, the airwaves collide. DX Central Live, where the signals can't hide. Tuning in the static, chasing down the sounds. Every single signal is magic we have found. All radios hum, the chatters all agree. DX Central Live is the place to be. Folks in the chat, shout out your call. From east to west, we're breaking down the walls. It's the magic of the night, where frequencies rise. Join us now on DX Central Live.
From the Gulf South
to your corner of the world,
this is DX Central Live.
Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
From the DX Central North Shore studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana, it's in Studio A that you'll find us this evening for another Friday night of DX Central Live, Season 6, Episode number 27. Good evening to everyone. Hopefully you're having a great day, great week, some good DX heading your way, or at the very least, your preparations are getting done and underway for FM season. We are knocking on that door. I've been swimming in the FM waters all week, doing a little recording review, doing a little data crunching, and it's starting to get the itch for some Sporadic E. As we are making our transition here and getting our focus still looking at AM, we're still looking at medium wave. But we are focusing greatly on FM for the rest of the month of April as we head towards our season finale of the live stream on May 1st for Season 6. And then we take our little bit of a break for the summer of DX and FM season. And then we'll, obviously resume for Season 7 in the fall. But as we transition our focus here from all things nothing but AM pretty much now to mostly FM. We never walk away from AM totally, but mostly FM. Tonight we're going to be talking about a couple of different things that I think will help you get ready for the season. Number one, we're going to talk about FM DX Webservers. Now we've talked about them here before on this live stream, and we've also you've seen mine that I have up on the server list. We have 3 here in Mandeville. We are getting ready. I ordered one of the parts that I need last night, my little audio interface part, to get the 4th one up and running. And have my computer, my little extra mini PC that I have in the back. I'm going to bring that here in the shack. We're going to plug this one into our dipole that's at 21 feet. So that'll be our 4th web server here in Mandeville. I figure with so much Gulf Tropo that we get down here, it's some of those can get a little crowded sometimes when the Gulf Tropo is really going. This way you'll have 4 different receivers you can try out. So we're going to talk about how to do that, how to host your own, but also how can you use this as a DXer. Let's say you're not hosting. I wish that you would, because the more of you that are hosting web servers, the better it is for all of us. But let's say you're not hosting a web server for whatever reason, and that's fine. But you can still use them for your DX pursuits and help you with DX. We're going to talk about that tonight. We're also going to talk about SDR Console for those of you who are using FMDX recording review or live DX within Console, which is quite a few of you. A lot of folks, you're kind of either SDR Sharp, SDR Console, or like a portable or some kind of handheld radio. But for those of you using SDR Console, we're going to look at an old friend tonight. That is updating your RDS data. Yeah, it's that time of the year. We got to do that. You got to get your RDS data updated. We're going to go ahead and do the process tonight together live. And make sure we have all the PI codes in there ready to go for the upcoming season with all the updated information. So we'll walk through how to do that because that is an important step. You don't want to go into a new season with last year's PI codes. These things do change sometimes. We're also, my friends, going to take a look at RDS Autologging. Now, this is a popular topic here on this live stream and amongst our audience. I know quite a few of you are very familiar with RDS Autologgers, but I don't want to assume that everybody is. We have people who were AM DXers that are now FM DXers and FM DXers that are AM DXers because of the conversation we have on this stream. That's the point. That's what we do here. So we are going to talk about FM RDS Autologgers tonight. We're going to talk about how to set one up, how to host one, and also, again, how do you use this as a DXer? How can you incorporate the RDS Autologger network into your DX toolkit? How can you use it for spotting openings and so forth? And then finally, our last topic of the night, we're going to talk about FM DX on SDRs, specifically in relation to bandwidth. This is one of the questions I see a lot. People want to know, hey, I want to record a big chunk of the band so I can go back and review it. And I can tell you from experience that that is a huge benefit. You have no idea how much of a huge benefit it is to be able to record all or a big chunk, at least half, right, of the band during an opening, and then go back later and review that. That's why I've been able to accumulate so many logs over the last 3 years, in the last 3 FM DX seasons, because of that, because I'll be able to go back and squeeze all the Sporadic E out and not have to focus on just what I caught live. So we're going to talk tonight about some SDRs that you can do that with. I'm talking like the ones that you can get up to like 10 megahertz of bandwidth. We will explore some of the ones that are full bandwidth, 20 megahertz, 24 megahertz bandwidth. You can do a full band. We'll talk about some of those options. Some of those get a little pricier, so you'll just have to kind of weigh, budget and balance of performance and things like that. But we'll also talk about some of the more affordable ones that are closer into most of our price range of what we can afford for like a 10 megahertz, 8 megahertz bandwidth to record at least a good third or half of the band, right? That's what we're kind of looking for, somewhere in that neighborhood. And if you can do that with a couple of those SDRs on one computer, maybe you might be able to get the full band, right? So we'll look at some of those tonight as well. Of course, we have your shout-outs to get to. You have time to get your shout-outs in. Let us know what you've been hearing. DXchallenges.com/shoutout. We want to know. We want to hear what you've been getting in on AM, FM, weather DX. Have you been doing any ham radio 6 meters? Has been kind of every once in a while, kind of a little percolation, a little trans-equatorial I've been noticing on the maps lately. Maybe you've been getting in on that action, maybe a little 2 meter VHF action, a little tropo. There was some tropo last night in the Northeast, I saw, and some folks were getting in the New England area down to New York and things like that. So maybe some of y'all were getting some tropo on FM or NOAA Weather Radio or 2 meters. We want to hear. DXchallenges.com/shoutout. All right. I want to start us off with a little bit of DX. So we are in the middle of our FM band scan challenge, and this is week number 2 now that we're starting of our FM band scan challenge, where we're going through frequency by frequency by frequency and making sure that we document everything that we have in place on our local band so that we'll be ready come time for the season to begin. We'll know exactly what to expect. Now, it is currently dead band conditions here in Mandeville, for the most part. There might be a tiny bit of tropo scatter, but for the most part, we are in dead band conditions here in Mandeville right now. And that's going to change as we head into the weekend, into the early part of next week. So we're going to look at the tropo forecast as well. But I at least want to take this as an opportunity to go ahead and start going through how I do this band scan stuff. We talked about it a little bit last week. I want to show you guys. That way you can kind of follow along with your own band. So for our first hour of DX, let's go ahead and say this DX, since we're doing FM. It is brought to you by the Spectrum Monitor, thespectrummonitor.com. All right, so this is, now, I know the radio says our ELAD FDMS3, and that's what it is behind me, and that is what I do have on SDR Console, but we're running this off of our TEF 6686 desktop radio, and this is one of our 3 that we have up right now, FM web servers. This is the OG, the original web server. It's paired with our 33-foot high 4-element Innov Antennas log periodic. So we're going to sit here. We're just going to go through for this first DX session and see what's going on with the band right now. See where we're at. See how the band might have changed since last year. I haven't had a chance to do this yet, so I want to make sure that I do before we get too far involved into the season. And I am pulling up our interface here. I just went full screen with it so I can pull this up. This is our interface for doop-doo. Let me do that, and then this. There we go. And remember me, please. It's been a while since I logged in. So we're going to take a look here and see what we can hear. So let me see if I can do this. Let me run half screen here. another half screen on the web server. That's what I was looking for, the word web server. There we go. All right. So we're going to do this band scan. Just go. Normally I start from the top down, but I'm going to do it from the bottom this time. Start from the bottom up and see what we've got. We're going to go to 88.1 megahertz here on our station list. Again, this station list data is powered by WTFDA, the Worldwide TV FM DX Association, taking their station database information and making that available for us to give you guys some fantastic station list, a nice little interface here. So let's go ahead and start off here with this one's easy, KPAQ, American Family Radio. So I can go ahead and just search KPAQ, and we're going to pull that one up. There it is. In Plaquemine, Louisiana. Go ahead and log this one real quick. Now, when I'm filling out the entry form down here, I have a couple things that I can do. I can notate my signal strength in dBm. Right now, we'll call that negative 84.5. Oops. 84.5. We're going to do RDS decode. Yes, we did. So we're going to pull that automatically. That decode PI code is going to pull in from the WTFDA data into the log once we've hit submit. We don't have to put that in here. Propagation, it is local, and this is a category where we have we're going to call this a local. They have decent strength. They can be overtaken, but they're there. It's just not like super crazy. Now, I'm not going to do this right now. We are going to look at FM list and WLogger here in a bit as well. We're going to look at those two. We're going to spend more time with them next week, but I'm going to go ahead and just hit submit log on that one. So now we've got a new frequency entered in on our log, and you'll see now I have the green dot next to KPAQ's call sign to let me know I have logged that station. Now we're going to go to 88.3. There we go. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and just pull up LA here for my state. And let's go ahead and log WRBH reading for the blind radio. Now, it's throwing me an RDS code now. That's the first time I've ever seen an RDS code on the station. That's interesting. Let me go over here. I wonder if this... we do have a headless. Chicopee Radio says, I recommend the headless TEF to do this because you might miss certain stations from the regular TEF. You might get strong on the headless one. Yeah, we do have the headless over here, and we have 2 antennas. The reason I'm doing this particular band scan right now on our main OG, let me turn that down a little bit, our original web server here is because this is my 33-foot high log periodic. This is my main DX antenna. This is what my ELAD is tied to. It's the exact same antenna that my ELAD has. So when I'm doing my full band recordings, this is the antenna. So if I'm looking at a band during an opening, it's going to be in this room on this ELAD with this antenna. So I want to do the band scan on that same antenna. Now, I know that those other TEFs that I have, my other SDRs, are going to give me a different look. But since this is my main one that I'm going to be doing most of my DX from, is this antenna this TEF is tied to, that's where I'm doing my band scan. I probably will do another band scan on those other radios to kind of see the difference. But for our purposes here, this will be the one that we're doing here tonight, is the 33-foot high one. All right, so we're going to log WRBH. Now, I am going to go ahead and say, even though I've never seen a PI code on this one, reading for the blind radio, 88.3. Let me go ahead and do comforts. This one on FM list is showing no PI. Let me see what WTFDA has on their list. See if they have WRBH. They are not showing a PI code either. I am going to check. Let me actually do this. Here's how I'm gonna approach this one. I'm gonna go to my ELAD FDMS3 right now. I'm gonna pull this up over here in SDR Console. Again, we're using the exact same antenna on SDR Console that we are on this TEF radio. I'm going to pull up RDS Spy and the console. Now, neither one of those are seeing that 5D20 PI code. So more than likely, that's a false decode. I'm going to keep my eye on it, but before I go log that and try to proclaim that they have a new PI code, I'm checking that through another source just to double check and make sure. So that's what we're going to keep an eye on here for this particular station. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and log it. They're negative 49 dBm. You can see much, much stronger than what we just saw with KPAQ. I'm going to say no on the decode. I'm going to put this one as a... I'm going to put that as a strong local. 49 dBm, negative 49 dBm. That's a pretty strong station here locally. So I'm going to go ahead and submit a log. And now we go to our next frequency, 88.5. Yeah, Dennis says no, not a good PI code. Yeah, I didn't think it would be, but that's just one of those things that when you're seeing stuff like that, you definitely, before you go proclaim a new PI code, just double check it on a couple of different radios if you have one that you can double check, or check it on an additional listen session later on, just to make sure. Now, this is WJFM in Baton Rouge that we just heard. The Jimmy Swaggart Ministries, JSM, you heard him mention a few moments ago. Jimmy Swaggart Ministries over in Baton Rouge. We're going to call this one a semi-local as well. This one is a decent signal strength, and they can be overcome. It takes a little bit of time sometimes to get them overcome. A little bit of an opening, a decent opening, but they can be. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say submit log on this one as well. We'll go ahead and put that one in. Now we get to 88.7. This is the bridge here in Pearl River, New Orleans. This is not too far from here. I want to say it's about 10, 12 miles from us. Let me see what it says. 19. I knew it was close. 19 miles for this one here, 88.7, the bridge. And you'll hear the music there. I'm keeping the music down a little bit so I can make sure I don't get the copyright strike. But we're going to use the RDS to our advantage where we can. This is a strong local as well. I'm going to go ahead and document. There is 71.4 dBm. I'll call it 0.4. I do have an RDS decode on this one. Now, this is one, I'm going to put them as a strong local, only because I know that it does take sometimes, historically, it does take a pretty decent opening to overtake them. However, that negative 71 dBm is actually weaker than they used to be. They used to be about 50, 60 dBm. Now they're a little weaker than they used to be. I don't know if there's something going on there with their transmitter or whatever, but that is interesting that is a little bit weaker than they were, which might explain why on some recent sessions I was able to get a different station in there. Someone just overtook the receiver here from us and started tuning around on 99.9. And that's whenever I've gone to our web servers here lately, it's always been on 99.9. Everybody's that's where they're kind of sit here locally is 99.9. I don't know what that is. Let's take that back. 88.9. Let's go back down here and do this again. Nothing on this one right now. Now you'll hear the static and you'll wonder, okay, that's an open frequency, right? It's not actually, because we have HD right here on 89.1. That is a local station here. That is to be BSN FM. So I'm going to go over here to my my entry, and on 88.9. Let's see. Only Homa. Interesting. Oh, that's right, because I don't have anything there. So I'm going to go use my manual entry mode here. And I'm going to say 88.9. Oops. 0.9. I'm going to just leave all call sign, station, state, country, distance. All that's going to be left open. Let's go back down here to 88.9 so we can take a look. Now we're at negative 76 dBm, right? Negative 76, negative 77. For my category, I'm choosing Open HD because I do have a local station on that frequency that's running an HD IBOC sideband. So it's there. It's a signal that has to be contended with and overtaken by the DX whenever it's coming in. So it's not truly an open frequency for me where I have just nothing but static like we used to have 20 years ago. This HD makes it something that's a little bit tougher for me to be able to overtake that frequency with some stronger DX. Now we go to 89.1. 89.1. And on 89.1, 89.1. Do I have an 89.1? I should. Yeah, there it is. Okay. We're in Louisiana, 89.1. That is New Orleans to be BSN. So we're going to go ahead and log that one here. So you see, it's just about going through each frequency, making sure that we're being methodical in our approach. Let me turn off that manual entry mode here. All right, so now it's pulling in all my data. Now we're going to notate the signal strength, negative 61 dBm, roughly. Yeah, we'll call that negative 62. Well, look at that. It's going way down. What's going on with WBSN? We were at negative 61, 62, and now we're at negative 80. How did that happen? All right, well, we're at negative 80 dBm. There you go. That is a strong local. That is one of those that is not easily overcome. It is a local station. Now I'm going to hit submit log. And there we go. So, again, this is just going through each frequency, notating what you hear. If you have nothing there, notate the nothing. If you have that HD IBOC that we saw there, like the sideband splatter there from the HD signal, notate that. If you have a fringe station, like for instance, let's go take a look and see how we look on 94.5. That's a KSMB out of Lafayette. Now, that's actually pretty strong for them at negative 105, but I'm going to go ahead. Let's log this really quick, 94.5, and show you how I do this. So, KSMB, Lafayette, that's my station I want to log here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Now, this is negative 105 dBm. I'll call it about negative 105. It's close enough. Do I have RDS decode? No. And I'm going to call this one a fringe. At best, I could call them a local. But more than likely, I mean, this is really a fringe. I'm right on that edge. At negative 105, 106 dBm, if it was about 5 to 10 dBm more down, we'd be in our noise floor here. It's just right there above the noise floor. That's a fringe station, right? Any kind of E-skip, any kind of tropo, even some good meteor scatter is going to overtake that signal with no problem. No problem at all. And now you see it's even going down a bit. Now we're at negative 110. And you hear what happens when it gets to negative 110, which is close to our noise floor, within about 5 dBm of the noise floor. You start getting that staticky, like you're losing that full quieting, you're losing the copy. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. So now I hit submit log, and there's KSMB now logged from Lafayette. So again, just going frequency by frequency, logging what we see, and notating whether whatever station it is, what's the signal strength, what kind of frequency are we looking at. That's what's going to help us, because now I can go over and I can go take now, and I'll just remove my filters. I can clear all my filters this way too, just by clicking the button. I keep forgetting about that. And now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to look at my logged stations. And so this is going to give me all the stuff that I've logged so far. Then I can take this and I can export this out into a CSV file. And then I can pull that into Google Sheets. And now I've got a document that has all of the stuff that I've logged, stations and otherwise. And it's going to put everything in there for me so I can see exactly. Let me make sure here. Okay, that's fine. Now it's pulling it up into Excel. So you'll see there's that 88.9 that we logged as that Open HD. Right? So there's that open one there. We also had another one that was open. Where was it? I think that's the only one I've done so far. Yeah, so there it is. Open HD. So you'll see that gives you everything you need to know about your local band and making sure that you're ready for the upcoming FMDX season. Just by going through this exercise, especially during dead band conditions. I think I saw, you'll hear in Stuart's shout out, he caught some surprises during his band scan. That's why we do this. That's exactly what that's case study exhibit A of exactly why we do this. Because this is somebody who DXs his FM band on a regular basis, and he still found surprises in his band scan. He was like, wait, what's that? I haven't logged that station. Where'd this open frequency come from, right? So things change on these FM bands on the regular basis. And Stuart's one of those guys. You guys know he's plugged in on his FM band. He's plugged in on VHF. That's like his lifeblood. And he found surprises in his band scan. That's why we do what we do. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to talk about the FMDX web server network. We're going to talk about how you can host one, how you can use one if you're not hosting one, or if you are, it doesn't matter. If you're using it from a DX perspective, how can you use that to help you get new stuff in your logbook? So don't go anywhere, my friends. More DX Central Live is heading your way, and it'll be right after this.
DX Central, because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
At 5:15, the MUF is climbing on the screen. From 88 to Hendo 8, the irons just refuse to wait. I'm stuck behind a minivan. Does she not know the state of the band? Move it later, the skip is in. I'm losing signals to the solo wind. A red line, racing the fade. The best opening that the cycle ever made. I need 5 more minutes to get to the door before the signal drops back to the floor. Don't you fade on me. Don't you fade on me now. Red light.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live.
I'm doing 90
Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
The Florida panhandle is booming and loud, reflecting off another nice cloud. My hard drive is empty, my recorder is off. I'm gonna lose the ID from the station in the draw. Keys in the hand, sweat on the brow. The laws of physics are against me now. Red line, racing the fade. The best opening that the cycle ever made. I need 5 more minutes to get to the door before the signal drops back to the floor. Don't you fade on me. Don't you fade.
DX Radio. You can hear songs like this one on DX Radio. This is probably DXradio.com. Pull it up here on the main screen. There you go. This is probably DXradio.com. Absolutely love that song. It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in beautiful Mandeville, Louisiana, in Studio A of the North Shore Studios. Every Friday night for a couple more weeks. You know, we've only got 3 weeks after this, right? We got the 17th, the 24th, and then the season finale on the 1st. Now, I don't know if I should talk about this yet or not. I don't know. I'm hoping to at least have... Okay, I'll put it this way. You guys remember our Sporadic E data analysis project that we were working on? We did last year. We did the launch during our season finale last year. That's still up. You can go look at all the data right now through 2024, through 2017 to 2024. I'll drop the link. There it is. Boom. You can go look at that right now. And all that data is there. I think there's a couple charts that are not loading right now, but for the most part, everything is there. Let me look here. So you'll have like the daily heat maps for each month that shows you what days. There it is. Yeah, what days. Here's the day on the left. Here's the year in the columns, and you can see like how many logs were reported to FM list for Sporadic E on any given day in any given year. There's May. There is June. So I like to run stats during the season to talk about, okay, here's historically what we've seen from these days. Here's historically what we can kind of say has happened. But as we always talk about, past performance is no guarantee of future success, right? So just because we had 1,400 logs on June 27th of 2022 doesn't mean we're going to have anything anywhere near that at any point on June 27th of 2026, okay? The 2025 data is not in here because, that's a lot. It's 23,000 logs. There's 23,000 logs last year, and if you are doing the math here, you'll see that the season totals of total logs is there's 2025 now. It is showing up. Okay, well you can see how much higher 2025 is compared to everybody else. There you go. On some of the charts, you'll see 2025 data now. Some of the other tables I have to recreate, you won't find it. But, I mean, look at that. That's how much higher 2025 is. The volume curve here went way down, and then for 2024, and then just shot up like a rocket, like an Artemis. Very happy they splashed down safely. So we have this here. And the reason I bring this up is because I am actually redoing the entire dashboard. I want it to be more interactive. I've gotten some new tools that I've been able to custom code thanks to some help from AI, because I don't know code. I don't know how to write Python code, but AI does. And so I've been working on that and coming up with some really cool stuff. I'm not going to talk a lot about it just yet, but I'm hopeful that at least a good chunk of it will have ready to go on May 1st for our season finale so we can look at it together. And you can see, I promise you this. You are going to be able to see Sporadic E in a way that you've never seen it before. You're going to be able to have a visualization of a Sporadic E opening or openings in a way you've never been able to do before. I've been testing it out. I've been playing around with it, looking at different days, different openings, and it's unbelievable. You're going to have more data at your disposal than you've ever had for Sporadic E on FM. That's a promise. So I'm we're going to have, I think, 6 pages of data, 6 different sections. I'm on section 3 right now. And in that section, there's like multiple different sections. So I'm about halfway on section 3, and then I got to do the other 3. So we're getting close. So it's going to take a little bit of time. It's a lot of late night, bleary-eyed. No, Gemini, I want you to do this. Don't do that. Do this. A lot of going back and forth. I think we're on iteration number like 120-something of the code that we pushed so far. We're not even halfway. So you're going to love this, guys. I can't wait to show it to you. This new dashboard is going to be, I promise you, it's unlike anything you've ever seen for Sporadic E before. And I'm including the donuts on FM list. I'm including the paths that are there on FM list. I'm including what you can see on Wlogger. I'm including all the different tools that are out there around Sporadic E. Nobody's doing what we're about to do. This is, and to my knowledge, no one's ever done this before. So I'm excited, in case you couldn't tell. Let's talk about FMDX web servers. So we're talking about how you can go and put online a receiver in your location and make it available to DXers from anywhere in the world. So this is the map. So you guys know we have the Kiwi servers, right? Kiwi SDRs you can use for online receivers for AM, HF, ham radio reception, things like that. This is the same exact thing, but we're doing it with FM. And everywhere you see a green dot, that's at least one FM web server. So they have their FM tuner. More than likely, a lot of these are TEF 6686 radios, but there's some SDRs and some other ones out there, Sony F1 HDs and things like that. You also see some of these that have multiples, like we have 3 here right now. We're about to have a 4th one. There's 3 here in the Azores. I wish they'd add a couple more in Bermuda. That'd be nice. But look at this. I mean, I'm not being, I'm not begging here. You know, I'm very appreciative of what we have. Got a couple down here in Florida. We have now 1, 2, 3, 4 in Mexico, and one right here on the border of Belize and Mexico, right there at Chetumal. Look at that. That is going to be, top of my list, of my want list on FM is Belize. Very top. I want Belize bad. Now, I got Cuba crossed off. I want Belize. That's the top of my list. So I'm hoping we can get one. Drummer Rick says there needs to be one in Arizona. Yeah. We need some New Mexico. We need some Arizona. We need some up here in northwest Mexico. We need a whole bunch out here out west. So come on, guys. Let's get cracking. We're getting pretty good here on the east. The southeast could use some more. Carolinas, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee. We do have one here in Henderson, Tennessee, and I know Bristol is covered by Pixel. He's in there. But the Virginia, Carolinas, both the Carolinas, Georgia, into like southern Alabama, we could use some stuff in here. That'd be nice. And then all this section right here of Indiana, Illinois, into the Dakotas, all out west. We could definitely use some more coverage out here. So up in New England, we could use some up here in like Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. That'd be nice. So with these, you guys have seen them before. You saw them a few minutes ago, right? My web server. Let's go to Bermuda real quick and just hit the dot, and then you'll see here some information about the receiver. And then I hit connect. And now I've got, I'm pulling up an FM radio as if I was sitting in Bermuda. I can listen to the band through their antenna as if I was sitting right there in Bermuda. So the couple things you're going to want to know about this, if I am connected, the very first thing you want to do, the very, very first thing, this is important. Pay attention. When you connect to a web server, the very first thing that you need to do, whether you're on desktop or mobile, is look up for how many people are logged in. If you see one and you're logged in, that's you, and you're the only one. So you have free reign at this point to control the web server and do what you want to do. You can go start changing frequencies. Like I can go down to 105.9 right now. I can go to 104.5. I can do what I need to do because I'm the only person on the web server right now. But if you see anything more than one, if you see 2 or 3 or 4, pause for a minute, sit back and relax for a moment, observe, watch the web server. There may be someone who's already there because if you change the frequency, you're changing it for everybody. Right? This is not like the Kiwi. The Kiwis, you can change your frequency all you want to, and it's not going to mess anybody up. They're independent receivers. Now, the TEFs don't have that. The TEFs, you change your frequency for you, you're changing the frequency for all. So if you have a number greater than 1 for the connection count, lean back, watch for a few minutes, and then after about 2 to 3, 4 minutes, if nobody has changed the frequency, then you can probably take over. It might be like I sometimes will leave mine running, just so I can RDS log what everybody else is getting as they're tuning on my TEF receiver, right? So I just leave my TEF up, my FM DX web server. You guys are tuning around, and I have an autologger on mine that captures whatever you're getting on RDS, and it just puts it into a log, okay? So now you see now there are 2. So I'm going to not tune because now that person that's there. Let's say I'm just now getting here. I see that 2. I'm not going to tune because I don't want to mess up their session. Maybe they're DXing, especially during an opening. You know, don't forget. A lot of times people forget about this, right? A lot of the times we think, like maybe you're DXing from that location to see what they're getting DX wise. There's other people who are logging in to hear the locals of that area. So it's not just, let me see what DX is getting into this location. Sometimes it's also, hey, I'm in Louisiana. I'm down on a web server down in Mexico. I want to hear that local down in Veracruz or wherever it is in Mexico. I want to hear that local because I'm trying to compare it to what I'm hearing, right? So you might see someone tuning around the local stations in that market. That's okay. That could be on purpose because they're trying to compare what they're hearing from their location to that local market because they're saying, is this New Orleans that I'm hearing, right, on my receiver or whatever. So just keep that in mind as you're kind of tuning around. It's not always, because I've seen that in the chat. Sometimes people are like, there's a DX opening right now. You're listening to locals. Well, yeah, because they're maybe receiving my locals. So let them cook as the kids say. And that's one of the reasons that I did put up multiple different web servers, is I wanted you guys to have some options, and now I've lost my screen, some options, a couple of different receivers. That way, if we're getting a lot of tropo and it's really popping, I want you to have multiple options to be able to get in there and tune around. So let's talk about the FM DX web server. So when you are, let's say I'm the DXer now. I'll get to the hosting here in a moment, but if I'm the DXer, how this works, let me give you an example. Last year, on May 31st of last year, I was sitting here in my shack, and I'd pulled up DX maps. And I'm going to just throw all these links over here in the chat so you guys have it. Ba-doom. I'm going to look here on DX maps, and I'm looking at all the lines that are there for 6-meter ham radio communications, right? Now, just because 6 meters is open doesn't mean FM's going to be open, because it doesn't mean that the MUF has gotten up there yet, right? It can be an indication, though. If you're seeing a lot of lines on a particular path, let me just say, let's say I'm seeing a whole bunch here from like Massachusetts down to Florida, Massachusetts down, like this whole thing is getting really, really cooking. If I'm somewhere that might be able to get on that path in some direction off the center of that path, I might want to pay attention. Maybe I'll go look at the Bermuda web server now to see if I'm getting into the coast inland, right? And if you start to see like 1 or 2 lines, but when you see a bunch, and maybe now you're seeing some other lines that are crossing that path. So now I'm seeing stuff from like Puerto Rico up in here, right? I'm seeing all kinds of stuff all centered around a common spot on 6 meters. That's an indication that opening that cloud is a little more robust, and it's a little more likely that you might see some FM e-skip from that opening, from that event. So May 31st of last year, I'm doing this. I'm looking on DX maps, and I'm just seeing a ton of stuff all over the place, and I'm seeing like this whole path here from like Miami, South Florida to Mexico, Miami, South Florida to Mexico, and I'm seeing a bunch of people working down this way, and I'm seeing a bunch of people over here work this way. Like, it's all crossing down here in the Gulf. And it's all crossing. And I was like, well, that's a fantastic path for me, because if I'm getting in on that path, I'm getting Cuba, I'm getting Jamaica, I'm getting Cayman Islands. Let's see what's up. So I first went, and I wanted to see if the MUF was up enough. I went over to an FM web server down here in South Florida in Miami, and sure enough, they were getting Mexico on FM very strongly. So I was like, okay, here we go. Fired up the ELAD FDMS3, fired up SDR Console, went to 88.1. And there was Mandeville, Jamaica, because there is a Mandeville, Jamaica. It was Jamaica coming in super, super strong on 88.1. And then from that opening, I had 27 Jamaicans. I had about 10 Cayman Islands. I had a couple Cubans. And I spotted that because I was looking on here for 6-meter openings to see when one was getting robust enough. I checked an FM DX web server out of Miami. This one that you'll see here on the map, boom, right down here. In Miramar, down that way. They were the ones that I was logged into here. And now with their FMDX web server, I'm looking west towards Mexico. Mexico was coming in quite nicely. I was like, okay, then I should be able to get on this. Sure enough, I was getting in on that cloud. Now, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, but you at least need to check. You're never going to know unless you check. So that's one way that you can use these web servers, is to say, okay, I think that someone might be getting in on that path. Let me see if it's now getting into FM to a path that I know is active on 6 meters. Are they getting onto FM? Because if they're getting onto FM, there's a chance that if I cross that path, I could be getting on FM too, right? Maybe. The other way you can use this, I kind of alluded to it a moment ago, is I am here in Louisiana. I'm getting an opening up into Michigan, up around Stewart and Ayden, and I say I want to go check to see if the station that I'm hearing, that I'm not getting RDS. I just want to check really quick and see if that is a station up in Ann Arbor that I'm receiving, or is it somewhere else? I'll go click around to some of those web servers up there, tune around those locals, and say, yep, there's the station I'm hearing. I've done this before with stations up around the Massachusetts. I've done it a couple times. Up in Michigan, I've done it a couple times. Bob Hawkins' place out in Edinburgh, I've done it a couple times. So it can be a great, great help for you to match up to those locals. And then obviously the other thing is to actually just DX from that web server and kind of learn about the DX happening at that location. Because anytime you're DXing, whether it's your location or not, anytime you're DXing, you're gaining experience, you're practicing, you're learning about the propagation, you're experiencing DX. And so a lot of folks were sitting on the Bermuda web server this last year, and to great effect, because we were seeing just how prevalent that East Coast path really, really was, bringing stuff into the Carolinas, and a lot of people were able to spot openings that way. But a lot of us were learning about how that propagation path on the East Coast, whether it's Tropo or Sporadic E, was bringing stuff in from the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, into Bermuda. Just how prevalent it was, because Bermuda's not all that common for a lot of folks here. There are plenty of folks who get Bermuda. I got it once when I was in Charleston, but it's definitely not one that's people. I mean, it's more common now than it used to be. It's definitely one of those that people kind of search after. Well, you can now check with that web server to see if what you're getting is matching up with Bermuda, even if you're not getting RDS. So that's an option for you on how to get a web server as a DXer and kind of use it. Now let's talk about the hosting. So I do have a video here that I put up last year on the FMDX web servers. Boop, boop. But I want to show you this one. FMDX web server. This is the video you're going to want to watch right here.
Find your perfect tax expert.
No, I don't want to do the tax expert. This is the video that you want right here. Nubish himself put this video up, and this is for the step-by-step of what you need to do to put up an FMDX web server. Nubish and Ari here. Here's what you would need to do to set up a web server and get this up and running. Here, you'll need a TEF radio or a Sony F1 HD. You need an auxiliary jack to take audio from the radio and put it into your computer through an audio interface. You need the USB cable to bring it into your computer. He has all the software you have to download. There's a couple of different pieces of software you have to download. And then some settings you'll have to change and things like that. And once you get those things set up, like Node.js, FFmpeg, all those others, once you set all that up, it's pretty easy. Now, here's my recommendation. Okay? If you're doing this and you've got your TEF and you've got the audio going through your computer and everything's set up and you follow Nubish's instructions here on how to actually set the web server up, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you go to ChatGPT or Google Gemini or one of the AI assistants and you say, I have set up an FMDX web server on my computer and it is operational and it is functioning. Everything is fantastic. I've got it working. However, I want it to automatically start whenever my computer is on. I don't want to have to go in there and restart it if we lose power or anything like that, or if I had to restart my computer and have to remember to go restart my web server. I want it to automatically be on whenever my computer is on. Help me do that. And it will walk you through the steps of exactly how to do that. I did that, and now mine are hands off. I haven't touched them in weeks. I just go check every once in a while to make sure they're still up, and they always are. And as long as your computer is on and powered, you've got web server. It's fantastic. I was getting so irritated. I'd have to restart my computer, but I forgot to get the web server back up and running. I'm sorry, guys. And I'd have missed a Tropo opening or something. Just use an AI assistant. Or if you already know how to do it, then just do it. But I don't know how to do that kind of stuff. I had to use AI to help me, and it walked through the whole process and set it up, and it was great. So I highly recommend that you do that. That you go in, set up the web server using the instructions on Nubish's video that I linked in the chat. And then once you've got that up and running and everything's working great and you got a great connection and it's just like, this is hopping, then go use an AI assistant to help you set it up to be automatically, run a script to automatically, whenever you start your computer, the web server starts up, any tunnel that you have in place starts up, everything's good, and you're good to go. That's it. That's web server. It's really, really easy. Just go to, if you want to find all of them, go to servers.fmdx.org, and there's the link in the chat, servers.fmdx.org, and just go and start prowling around. Again, when you get there, give it a minute if there are more than one person connected. If you see more than one up there in the connection count, give it a minute. But then once you're able to tune around, go check it out, man. Look at this. Look at Europe. We always talk about how much more prominent DX is over in Europe. Some people are like, nah, there's just as many DXers in the U.S. I point to Exhibit A. Shoot-doo-doo. This is the U.S. web servers. This is the European web servers. Europe is still very much obsessed with FMDX and AMDX too, as well, but especially FMDX. They love it, which is part of why they have so many logs during an eSkip opening, because there's so many stations and so many DXers. All right, let's get to some of your shout-outs real quick, and then we'll spend some time talking about RDS and SDR Console. But first, shout-out time.
Shout out loud, hear the call for every single big or small, from AM to FM to C to C. We celebrate the ones who slag the IT. Shout out loud, let it be known, you're never DXing all alone. Through the static we found our way. Shout-outs making waves today.
I have that sometimes too, Stuart. I have to refresh. Like, I'll put my name in, and then I go to try to chat, and nothing will happen, so I have to refresh, and then it'll chat. And that works for a little bit, and then I have to refresh again. I don't know why. That's one of my only complaints. The reason that you can move the chat window is because I asked Nubish, I was like, can we make it so you can move the chat window so I can kind of move it around where I need it to be? And he's like, yeah. So we did that. I'm not sure why. Sometimes it gets a little confused, but a quick refresh usually does the trick. Let me close that window, and we have these guys here. We are going to talk about the TEF radios when we talk about the autologgers, because we just talked about it for the web servers. When we get into the autologger portion, we'll talk about the TEF radios again and where to get them, because I know that's another one of those common questions I see is, where do I get one? And so we'll put the link up to AliExpress and show you how we find them and how to look for the right one, because there's different ones out there and how you'll know which ones are good. Europe has it so much better than we do for AM with so few stations. We're heading that direction. Hey, that was my whole thing in the Spectrum Monitor article, right? I was like, look, I hate to see stations go. I really do. But just, it wasn't that long ago that we were complaining about how there were too many stations on the band. And now this band is starting to thin out a little bit. That means more opportunities for DX. All right, your shout-outs, you can get them in at dxchallenges.com/shoutout. Just send those over and let us know what you've been hearing. If you have any new gear, any new skills you learned, any new stuff, let us know. We start off with our friend Kaz in the chat. You see him in there. Neil Kazaros. Kaz checks in. Always good to see you in there, my friend. 968.08 offset. So it's a 970 station, but their offset's a little low. I love the fact that their carrier, their offset, is that low off their main fundamental frequency, because this is for KVWM in Show Low, Arizona. So the station in Show Low, their carrier shows low. See, little things like that made me laugh. This badly off frequency station was just good enough for some audio to be heard. I'm going to have to go check that one out, because 970 is a decent frequency if I can get around Mexico for me. And I've got some antennas pointing in that general direction. I'm about to put up another antenna that I said I wasn't going to be able to get. Remember I said a couple weeks ago I'm not going to be able to put up a west-facing antenna towards Arizona and California and all that, right? I said there's no way. I don't have any way to do it. I don't have enough room. Not so fast, my friend. I'll talk about that here after the next hour. So new station for our friend Kaz, KVWM Show Low, and they are showing low. They're at 968.08. So go get them, my friends. We got a log saw for you, Mr. Kaz. Kaz says they're basically a split, so everybody go try for them before they fix it. Yes. I am desperately looking for Arizona stations on AM, so that's when I'm going to go try. Faux show. Well done, my friend, and thank you for the hot tip, because that is good to know. Next up on the shout-out list, we have David Harden from Georgia. David checks in and says, dawn is coming early and earlier now, and because of that, I'll miss the chance to log some gray line stations. I recently snagged WZOB 1250 in Fort Payne, Alabama at 0700 Eastern Time with This Is WZOB Country. And then I also logged another station at 0700, this time to be DYT 1220 from Kings Mountain, North Carolina, La Nueva Vida. I thought that was an H, but it's not. It's La Nueva Vida. This station came in so strong, at first I thought it was a high-powered Mexican station on 1220. Called him again and confirmed it was NC. I was a little bit disappointed, but hey, at least it's a new log. That's exactly right. It may not be exactly what you wanted, but it's a new one. That's just as good. I tried 1220 evening and sorted through the hash to identify WZOT in Rockmart, Georgia, giving a weather report to their ID. Turning the FM, I've been trying off and on to identify anything on 95.7 for over a year now on. Chopo finally worked its magic for me, and I snagged WIOL FM in Waverly Hall, Georgia. While none of these stations were really all that distant, they're all new. Doesn't matter, right? As long as it's new. No matter where the station's from, if it's a new one for me, it's in the log. My dad used to say that all the time. He'd be working FTA or be working a contest or whatever, and he'd say, look, do I need another station, another log from Italy during a contest? No. Do I need another log from Japan? No. But every one that I get, every new one, that's a new one in my logbook, right? It's another new one. He's just adding up that next one, right? So it doesn't matter how far it is. It doesn't matter what. If it's new to you, it's in your logbook, and now that's getting your numbers up, and that's another new one for you in the log, and that's an achievement. So to my friend David there in Georgia, we saw a log for you, my friend. Well done. All right. Next up on the shout out list, we go to Arizona. We actually go to Arizona now for our shout out for our friend John Johnson with one new logging to report. That's KUSH 1600 in Cushing, Oklahoma. This is the 17th Oklahoma station he's logged from Mesa. Brings his total to 933 stations logged from Arizona. So Arizona to Oklahoma, good to go. So we saw a log for our friend John Johnson watching on the replay more than likely. Hey, John. Well done and congratulations. You still have time to get some shout outs in. DXchallenges.com/shoutout. Send them over. We'll get them here on the shout out spreadsheet on the form. We got two more coming up for this next hour. We've got Stuart and we've got Dave up in Montana for our next hour. So you got plenty of time to get your shout out in. Again, just go to DXchallenges.com/shoutout and we'll read your shout out here on the air, whether it's AM or I can't resist. Maybe it's a log from
California.
Let's talk about RDS and SDR Console. So I'm going to bring up something here on my screen. Let's go tune in. I had one there. There we go. 89.5. We have Covington, Louisiana here. 5C2F is our code. See a little check mark next to it. That check mark is basically SDR Console's way of saying, hey, I just looked at this code that you just received here, this 5C2F. I just looked it up in my database, and I confirmed that there's a 89.5 with a 5C2F code in my database. So that's a good code. That's a good decode. Now, what station it says down here may or may not prove to be correct. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Especially if you're looking at stations like in Mexico. You'll see sometimes like a U.S. station call sign, but it's actually a station in Mexico. That happens. So sometimes the text may not be what you're looking for, but the code, if you see the check mark, there is for sure a 5C2F on 89.5 when you see this check mark. So how do you get the check mark? How do you tell SDR Console the database? Well, it comes with a database, but it's up to you, Senor or Senorita DXer, sorry, Senora DXer. It's up to you to keep that sucker updated, Okay, so let's now take a look. I do have a video that we've done on this one because we have a video for a lot of this stuff here at DX Central. A lot of things that we talk about. There's a video for that. So let me go ahead and put that here. There's the link for this video that goes into all the detail and kind of if you want to go back and rewatch either this portion of the live stream or watch that video for a refresher on how to do it. The process hasn't actually changed. One of the few videos I don't have to go back and update because the process hasn't changed. Thank God. So let's go ahead and look at this now. So how you'll do this is you're going to start off, you're going to want to make sure you go to fmscan.org and you're going to use the login information that you have for FM List. So you'll make sure you already have an account with FM List because it's the same people, the FM Scan, FM List folks, they're all the same. So you'll use your fmlist.org credentials to sign in. Now, if you don't have FM List credentials or your FM List credentials are not working, you're going to want to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm trying to log into FM Scan. It's not working. I need to get my credentials fixed. Because I had to do that a couple years ago when I started doing this process. They had to fix it for me and tie my account together or whatever. I don't know what it was, but they fixed it, and now everything's good to go. So I just click, once you get your credentials put in, then you're good to go. You put login, and it'll bring you to this page right here. So once you're in and you're seeing this screen, the next thing you're going to want to do is get rid of your cookie thing there. Go down here to the kind of bottom-ish of the page, and you're going to see where it says Tools, User List, etc. Click on that. Okay. Next, we're going to be looking for user lists for Perseus, ELAD, Win Radio Station List, SDR Console. So click on that first link. This mentions SDR Console. Now you're going to see there's a handful of different options here. There are 3 options that we are going to do here. Option number 1 is this FM plus Tropo. Option number 2 is FM plus Meteor Scatter. And then option number 3 is Sporadic E. You're going to download all 3 of these. Now, before we download, you're going to want to choose your format. In this case, we're going to choose CSV format. And then I usually leave this as a semicolon or a comma, tab, whatever. Just choose an option in there. And I will then click on FM plus Tropo. And you'll make sure your CSV is still clicked. So FM plus Tropo, CSV format, and then your separator. And then just right here where it says download user list 1.csv, click on that. And you're going to see it download in your browser. Now I have user list, now it's 17 because I've done this so many times, 17.csv. Then you do the same thing. You just click now on FM plus Meteor Scatter. You're still choosing a CSV format, semicolon, whatever. Hit download again. And now you're going to see here, now I've got user list 18. And then one more, click on Sporadic E, CSV format, do it again. And so now this one's a little bit bigger. So it's going to take a little bit longer than the other ones did. Now it's done. Now I have user list 19. So I've now got 3 files. The FM Tropo, the Meteor Scatter, and the Sporadic E, all in CSV format. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to go over here to SDR Console. Now, what are we looking at here? Why are we doing this? I mentioned the check mark, but I saw Robert was talking about not sure what a PI code. PI codes are, this is the RDS data that many stations, not all, it's about 31% of U.S. stations broadcast an RDS code with their transmission. And that's based off of WTFDA data. Okay. So you'll see here, this 5C2F. That 5C2F is an indicator that is a station broadcasting that code, and that code corresponds to their call sign. Now, there are some nuances to this. Some of the iHeart stations that have more than one station running the same code, different things like that. But generally speaking, if you're looking at like FM List or the WTFDA station database, usually you can say, I'm on this frequency, I'm getting this code. It'll tell you, generally speaking, this is the station that you're hearing. Now, I tend to not just take that at face value most of the time. It depends on the circumstances. I usually like to have some sort of other piece of information that I'm going to use to validate that is in fact who I'm hearing. As an example, this station that you see right here, this 5C2F, that's my local station, WCWD in Covington, Louisiana. They are a relay of classical 104.9, which is HD2 of WWNO. So if I listen to the audio and I hear that I'm getting classical, and then I go up to 104.9, I should hear the same content. And I do. So that is now confirmed that code that I got down here on 89.5 is in fact, the 5C2F is in fact who that I think that is. Okay. Next thing we're going to do, if you go to View, go to the View tab here in SDR Console, and then go to Frequency Database. Okay? That's going to bring up a window that looks like this. This is all of the data that's in there with all the different PI codes. Now, it has some other stuff in here as well, like some 6-meter ham radio stuff. But if I scroll down, you'll see there's a bunch of stations in here and the PI codes that go with them, right? So what I'm going to do, if you don't have anything in your SDR console, you'll be able to skip a couple of these steps, but you're probably going to have something in there. So that what you'll do is just click on the little 3 dots here. And I'm going to say, because I have right now, it says FM list 25889. That's 25,000 lines of data that it has in there from the FM list database that I've uploaded previously. I'm going to choose now delete all. And now that should say 0. Now I've cleaned the slate, wiped it clean. Nothing's in there. Okay? So now I go over here to on the little buttons on the left-hand side. One of them says FM list. I click on FM list. And now I'm going to go find those 3 files that I just downloaded. Doesn't matter what order you do them in. I'm just going to do them in the order that I downloaded them. So I'm going to start with number 17 here. And then I'm going to hit load. And it's going to bring all this stuff up. Once it's loaded, it says loaded 6,959 definitions. I click add to database. I just leave it at the defaults and I just say add. And now it says I've added 6,959 records to the table. Now, I go find my second file. I hit load. It's loaded 7,000 definitions. I hit add database. Hit add. It's added those. Now I go back to my files again. Load my third file. This one will take a little longer because it's Sporadic E. It's the big one. It's loaded 20,950 definitions. I hit add to database. Hit add. And you'll notice my check mark went away over here, right? My RDS little check mark went away because that 5C2F, the coder's still getting it. But right now, until I'm done with this process, it's not in the database, so there's no check mark. That's what you'll probably see if you haven't done this before, right? You'll see no check mark. But the check mark tells me it's found a match in the database. And the database comes from the updated FM list data. You see why we're doing this? The whole point? Right. So now I've added the 20,000 records. So now I just close that. Now I've got 34,956 records. Now I'm not done. There's one more step that I want to do, and that is remove duplicates. So I click on remove duplicates. That takes me back down to 25,891. You'll see I have the check mark over here now. Everything looks good. Everybody's happy. I then can close those windows, and now I've updated the RDS database information in SDR Console. I do this I'll be honest, I do it usually right before the season begins. I say, I'd like to do this like every 6 months or so. I'm probably going to do it once right before the Sporadic E season goes. So that was it right there. What I just did, that's probably it. That's probably my load for the season. If I thought there was a bunch of changes, I could do it again like in May, do it again in June, do it again in July, whatever. I don't think it changes that often that you have to do it that frequently, but at least now, sometime between now and May 1st, if you're using SDR Console for your IQ review, which you should be, unless you're using, AirSpy for the code channel canceller. If you're not doing that, probably SDR Console is your best bet. We're going to talk about that as we go into one of our coming up episodes here as we get ready for the season. But now my SDR Console RDS data is all updated. So anytime I get a decode, I should have a check mark next to it. There shouldn't be much that it doesn't know about. See all these check marks in there? It should know about all of those. Is this one? No, I don't guess they do. There's local. See, all these have check marks. So yeah, you should be good. If you start seeing a bunch of decodes that don't have check marks, that can and it's solid. It's not a false decode. It's like a solid decode. And there's no check mark. That's a cue to go ahead and maybe update your RDS data because you're getting some new stuff in there it doesn't know about. That's a good cue that, okay, maybe I need to go in there and update my RDS data. So there you go. That's how you do it. It's super, super easy. You just have to have an account with FM List and use that to log into fmscan.org. And I will go ahead and pop, I don't remember if I did that yet or not. I'm going to go ahead and pop that in here into the chat, fmscan.org. And you'll be good to go. All right. It's time for some top of the hour DX.
DX Central Live Top of the Hour Alert.
All right, for this DX session, we're actually going to go check out some AM DX because it's now a little bit after dark. We should have the noise floor down a little bit. Let's just go check the conditions here on the AM band. And I'm here on my AirSpy HF Plus Discovery using Spy Server to connect to the AirSpy that's over at Shortwave Central around the corner and the big 25 by 72 foot CAS antenna that's over there pointed right down at Central and South America. The other night we had Guatemala coming in here on 1570 and some other Latin Americans. Let's see how the conditions look. I'm going to see if we can compare this. If any of these might be Guatemala.
¿Cuántos dan gloria a Dios?
So I've got Radio Vea.
Están los combates ahora en Libia y el Líbano. Pero
yeah, that's them. That is Radio Vea. Not the music. In fact, I'm just trying to see if I can get rid of that music. So there's Guatemala coming in on 1570. Go check 1510. Oh, I was on the wrong frequency. I thought I was on 1510, but I wasn't. Yep, that's them. Radio Centro Americana. That is another station in Guatemala that we're hearing on 1510. No Ecuador, but there's Guatemala. This could be an option for some of you that are looking for Guatemala, 1510. They've been heard pretty widely by DXers in the U.S. here over the last couple months. Radio Centro Americana. I'll throw their website link with their stream here into the chat. Yeah, so that's an option for those of you who might be trying to get Guatemala. 1570 is a good one for Radio Vea. But if, like Rick was mentioning, he's got XCRF down in Mexico that kind of overtakes that spot. Well, 1510, Radio Centro Americana, if you can get rid of WLAC enough with a code channel canceler or something like that, like we have done here. Because remember, if I take off the CCC, there's WLAC overtaking. The magic of the Air Spy, once again, going in there and just slicing out the station we don't want out of WLAC, getting them out of there. So, excuse me. Using the co-channel cancel, we're able to get rid of that one pretty easily, and that left us with either Ecuador or Guatemala. And tonight it was Guatemala. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the autologgers, RDS Autologgers. We're going to be talking about FMDX SDRs. If you're looking for that wide bandwidth, full band, half band recording, we're going to talk about some options there. And I will touch on a new antenna project that I have signed myself up for here at North Shore Studios that I said I wasn't going to be able to do. I was like, there's no way I'll be able to do that. Well, I figured out a way. So we're going to look at that here in a bit, and this is for AMDX. And I'll show you some of the pieces that I've used here to kind of piece this together and how I'm going to deploy it and see how it does for me and filling some gaps in my logbook. So don't go anywhere, my friends. There's plenty more DX Central Live, and it's heading your way right after this.
DX Central. Because we're all about radio. Visit us at dxcentralonline.com or check us out on YouTube. Search DX Central. Keep up with DX Central. Follow us on Twitter at DX Central.
Everybody say, yeah! Yeah, the noise is coming.
I turn on the machine, I look at the screen. The city is louder. Too many people in the cloud. The light bulb buzz, the power line hum. We beat the drum, but the signal won't come. U-R-M. Blocking the view. U-R-M. What can we do? U-R-M. Blocking the view. U-R-M. The noise is you.
From the DX Central North Shore Studios, this is DXC Live. Now here's your host, Lloyd Van Horn.
It's DX Central Live from the North Shore Studios here in Mandeville, Louisiana, where you'll find us on Friday nights from now until May 1st. Our last episode of Season 6 will be May 1st. But tonight it's episode 27. As we bring you live DX, DX tips, conversation, and a whole lot more. Before we get into our next FM topic, I want to do a really quick talk about this new antenna project. Let me get out a little component here. So a couple weeks ago, I was talking about how I'd found a gap in my logbook out west. And I think I can bring that up here and show you guys, if I remember correctly. I think I have this set now to do this. Wow, 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 wow. If we can get to load here. DX heat map. I think that's it, right? Yeah. Okay. So we'll pull this up on screen here. So this is my DX heat map that shows you where the stations are that I've logged on AMDX here for Mandeville, right? So you see a big bunch of stuff right here, kind of the middle southern half of the country, down in the Florida, a little bit up here, a little bit, more sparsely dense out here in these like further reaches. But there's a hole, not at the bottom of the sea, but at the top of Mexico and right here in Arizona. So this little area right in here, I got nothing in this whole area. And it turns out that's right around 280, 285 degrees. And that is the one location that with the way our yard's kind of laid out and where the house is located with regards to the yard and everything, where I couldn't put up a CAS. I didn't have any trees. I didn't have enough horizontal distance for really anything, and also have the ability to do the vertical supports or whatever. So I was like, I'm just not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to put up one of these antennas in that direction. I'm just going to have to live without stuff from there, I guess, unless I get lucky. Well, I did some research, and actually I do have an option I can do here. So some of you guys that are, if you're a ham radio operator, you may be familiar with DX Commander antennas. They're quarter wave vertical antennas for HF. It's basically a fan dipole that gives you quarter wave verticals on everything from basically 10 meters down to 40 or 80, depending on which model you get. Maybe a little bit of 6 in there as well, especially off the 15 meter element. So you get this nice broad coverage. You have nice takeoff angles for your signals, and you cut these elements to tune them, so you don't even need a tuner. You just change frequencies, and it automatically selects the right wire on this assortment of antenna wires that's on this mast. It's a 33-foot high mast for one of the versions. There's a couple other versions that are higher and things like that, but for the one I have, it's a 80 through 10. So it's just based on when you send that signal out, it's going to go to the wire that it's cut for, where it's going to have the best path. It's magic. So That 33-foot mast, though, that is what we are going to use here. Now, there are a handful of different masts that they have for DX commanders, and so I actually found this one. So here's a 30-footer, 9-meter. Here's a 9.2 meter, 30.18 foot for the expedition pole. I'm using this one. This is the DX Commander vertical antenna replacement telescopic mast. It's 33 feet, 10 meters high. And it's one of those that it tapers down as you get higher and higher. There, it gets to a smaller and smaller little thin little whip, which we're going to talk about that in a second. But this is a fiberglass pole. And either from DX Commander or from DX Engineering, and you can see it's only $82. I say only, but compared to, okay, here's a 31-foot fiberglass pole for $113 from a fiberglass like kite pole place. You can see like the 22-footer's $80. Here's another 31 for $113. So $82 for a 33-foot fiberglass pole is actually pretty good. I just got 2 of these in this week. So the DX Commander actually makes these little guy rings. You can kind of see here, and it has little holes in it. And these guy rings, normally you would have like the hole here where your antenna element, that little quarter wave vertical wire would go through up the antenna. And then on some of these little guy rings, there would be like an anchor point where you'd have a little clip and it would anchor to it and whatever. But this slides down until it gets to the thickness that is of that diameter right there. So it just automatically slides all the way down until you can't go anymore. And then that's kind of like hunkers down. It keeps all of your, it acts as a spacer for your wires, but also you have the ability to use these as like a guy ring. So you can hook a carabiner to this and then have your guy rope coming down, going to your guy pegs. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to take these 2 poles that I just got in, and I'm going to slide these guy rings down until I have a couple of options up high, and I'm going to tie that antenna mast down because I don't have anywhere really to put it where I can put it up against like a fence post or anything like that for this particular orientation. And I'm going to do a super loop. And with a 33-foot high fiberglass pole, I'm not going to go all the way to 33 feet. I've talked about that before, right? Especially with a super loop. If you take your wire all the way to the top and you try to stretch it across that horizontal part for the vertical, across the vertical side from each element of the poles, rather, it's going to bend that pole. So you're going to get this like sag. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to put an anchor point with like a pulley or something like that, or a piece of rope or something to tie that wire to go through about 5 to 7 feet below that really thin part where you still have a little bit of a meaty part. So you can probably get it about, I'm thinking somewhere about 25 to 27 feet high is what I'm probably shooting for. Probably 25 if I'm being honest. It's 25 feet up, vertical, and then across to the other one, and then 25 feet down, and then a horizontal wire on the bottom for my other part of my super loop, and I'm going to put that at that 285 degree orientation. Now I'm going to have a 25-foot high apex, but I'm probably looking at about 40 feet for the horizontal, 30 to 40 feet. It's not very much, which is why I've never explored it. But inspired by our friend Barry Bankston, who has been doing some really great experimentation lately on some antenna stuff. You know what? I'm just going to build it and see how it does. If it's not doing great, if it kind of sucks, I can take it down. It's nothing permanent, right? I can take it down. But if you don't try, you don't know. So is it perfect at 25 by 35 or 40 or whatever it's going to be horizontally? No, it's not perfect, but it's going to give me something, I would imagine. It's going to let me hear something. So we're going to try it out. If I can get this, maybe this weekend. I just cut the grass yesterday, so I got a nice clear path. Go put these up in the air, see how they do. See if maybe I can get Arizona and into California with this thing. And Sonora, which is a Mexican state that I need on AM. So maybe I can have a shot at some of this stuff. So we'll keep you posted on how it goes. And yes, I'm doing this now. I'm not waiting until fall. I'm doing it now. I want to try it out. Let's see how it works, because AMDX season never actually ends. It just gets harder. That's all that is. All right, so we'll keep you posted on how that goes. But this is, did I put that in the chat? Yeah, the DX Engineering, I put the link in there. for the DX Commander polls. You can also order them directly from DX Commander if you want to go to his website, if you prefer to go that way. So whichever way. All right, so let's talk about FM autologgers. You guys have heard me talk a lot about these things over the years. As we, a couple years ago, kind of got started with using autologgers. It's one of those things that kind of came around, I guess, about 3-4 years ago, maybe, tops, 4 years. And we started off with SDRs. And then our friend, like an AirSpy, you would have an AirSpy that was dedicated as an autologger, and it's going to scan frequency by frequency and kind of sit for about 3 to 5 seconds, whatever you set it at. It will sit on that frequency, and it looks for an RDS PI code, what we looked at earlier. If it decodes one, it stores that into a little spreadsheet on this app that's or this plugin that was built into like SDR Sharp or SDR Console, whichever one you were using, and then it goes to the next frequency, and it does that process over and over again. So it starts from the low end and it goes all the way to the upper end of the band. When it gets to the upper end of the band, it then takes all that data that it got and it uploads it to Rabbitears, and this is the website you see right here. And then Rabbitears actually compares that data that it received to the WTFDA station database, the Worldwide TV DX Association database. And if you got a code of 5C2F on 89.5 and it finds on 89.5 there's a 5C2F, then it plots that location of where it knows that location, because there's lat long information in the WTFDA database. It plots that on a map. It knows your location. It has your lat long for your receiver. It knows the station location, so it plots a line between you and that station. And that is how we get the map that we see in front of us here. This is the RDS Autologger map. All these little spider webs you see here is someone's location of one or more RDS Autologgers. The lines are the paths. The darker the line is, the more recent the decode is. The lighter it is, the older it is. And I can get rid of the old logs, actually. But if I go up here, there's a little overlay option here. I can hover over. If I get rid of old reports, now I'm just looking at the new stuff, most recent stuff. Okay? So now I'm only looking at the most recent logs. So there's some good stuff here. Well, that's nice. Maybe a little meteor scatter or something going on there. We have some nice little tropo happening this evening. In fact, let's go look at my autologgers. So here's one. This is on my 21-foot dipole that we're about to add an FM web server to. And then here is our 297. That's our brand new one. This is our 65-foot high omnidirectional antenna. So you see it has a little more bit of a reach than the dipole does. So it's getting more because it's higher. It's a higher vertical height than the dipole is. And it's also omnidirectional, where this is a little bit more geared towards the east-west-ish. So, how do I use this information? If I'm a DXer, let me start there. How do I use this RDS Autologger information if I am a DXer? The number one thing is spotting openings. Look at this. We've got a nice little opening going on up here northeast up into North Carolina. They're seeing up into New England. You can spot that kind of stuff on these maps. Think of it as an early warning. Now, obviously, if you have an autologger at your location, you're going to keep an eye on your map. But don't forget, and I forget about this a lot of times, don't forget to look at the overall map. And I'm going to put this one here in the chat for you guys. This is one of those weeks, if you're listening on the podcast, you're going to want to go check out the replay because there's a ton of links in the chat. A ton of links. So this is, I just put the link in the chat for the FM Tuners, All Tuners map here that shows you everything. So you can see all the different locations that are up right now. Now, there will be more of these. Some people take theirs down out of season. So you'll see more of this when we get to Sporadic Es season. You'll see a lot more web autologgers pop up. But for right now, you'll see quite a few here on the eastern half of the country. And there are a couple out here out west, too. And some of these, like up here in Nebraska, I forget his name off the top of my head, Garland, Nebraska, Bill. He's got quite a few autologgers, and some of these, like one of these is like 93 feet. It's insane. He's got a lot of antennas up there. So, and then we got one here in Kansas as well. So, quite a few different. I think that's Matt's, isn't it? The one St. Mary's. I think that's Matt. So quite a few autologgers up. And so you can use this to spot an opening. You'll especially be able to see this during a sporadic E opening. It'll just be a spider web of lines all across the map, going crazy. If you start seeing that, pay attention. This is probably, and I'm going to do an update. We did a video about 4 or 5 years ago on how to spot a sporadic E opening on FM. And I'm going to update it this year because this right now is something we didn't have back then to cover. And this has really changed how we spot openings. So you still have things like FM list with the E alerts, which are awesome, which we'll talk about that next week, and then how to get that via email and even text if you want. So we'll talk about that. And then there's WLogger, and then there's things like DX maps and PSK reporter and stuff like that. But this is probably the best because it's real time. For the most part, it's going to have a little bit of a delay because, it's not going to upload that to Rabbitears until it has completed to the top of the band at 107.9. Then it uploads everything, and then it comes back and starts back at 88.1 again, right? So depending on how long it's been since that refresh happened, there might be a little bit of a delay. But this is pretty close to real time for you to be able to see without any interaction from the DXer. I don't have to submit my logs. The plug-in, or in this case, my TEF radios do it automatically. Okay, we're going to talk about that next here in a second. So from a DXer perspective, I can use this to spot openings. I can use this to gauge propagation. Is there tropo here on the Gulf Coast? Well, we have a little bit to my east tonight, so this western path isn't as good. And I'm confirming that because not only do I have to my east, but over here to my east in Chipley, he's seeing over to me towards the west. So this little bit of a tropo, moderate to weak tropo going on between like Tallahassee-ish and here. Okay? Pensacola in here. And then you'll see up here, we have a nice little opening from New England, from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, down into North Carolina. They're seeing each other. And you could verify that by looking at other things like WLogger and FM List and things like that to see if you're seeing those same things popping up there as well. Obviously, again, you have your own map. If you are hosting an autologger, you have your own map that you can watch as well for your own conditions locally in your area. So now let's talk about that. I have a video here. There we go. This is a video that I did a couple years ago on how to use a TEF 6686 radio to auto-log FM RDS without having to use your computer. Because the other option is you have a computer, you have an SDR that you dedicate just for that. You can't DX off of it because it needs to be scanning. And if you stop it from scanning, you're not going to have RDS Autolog. So this, thanks to Les Rayburn and the folks that were working on this, this allows us to not have to dedicate an expensive SDR just for Autolog. You can take a much cheaper TEF radio and devote this. And this is super easy to do. You don't have to have a computer at all. It uses the built-in Wi-Fi connectivity that's inside the RDS to connect to your home network. And then it's just scanning the FM band one frequency at a time. And there's ways you can set this up to say 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever you want it to do for each frequency. And, you plug your antenna into it so you got a good connection. And then, and there you go. And it automatically puts your credentials in for Rabbitears, and it automatically uploads it. So this is my one of my TEF radios. This is another TEF radio. I have 2 more brand new ones on the way because 2 of my old TEFs have stopped kind of working from an upload standpoint. They're not actually like doing the scan. So I've got 2 new ones on the way that I'm going to replace those with. And I'm going to talk about how to get those here in a minute. And those other 2 are going to be one's going to be a backup, and then the other one's going to be my new web server, so I can still use them. So yeah, we'll have 4 autologgers when we're done, and 4 web servers. Yay! And I think there's only 1 web server is 65, 1 autologger is 65. I've got the dipole on an autologger that's going to have a web server. I've got another web server that has the 9-element Yagi and the S antenna, and then I have an autologger with the S antenna. The only one that doesn't have, and then the other autologger I have is 62 foot high, which is on one of my SDRs. So the only one antenna I have that doesn't have an autologger is my 9-element stereo probe Yagi and my 4-element log periodic. So the super directional ones I don't have on a autologger. Everything else I'm trying to do as much omnidirectional as I can because we get so much tropo down here from both sides. So that's why we kind of have done that. So with these TEF radios, there's a process you'll go through, and the video outlines it. Now, I am going to update the video because the user interface has changed a little bit for the Wi-Fi connectivity part of it. It's not much different. It's just a slight change. I'm going to update the video so you can see that change, but the process is still the same. And when you see it, I mean, it's going to be self-explanatory. Basically, you're connecting to the Wi-Fi network in the radio on your phone, and then it's going to give you an option from there to say, okay, which of your Wi-Fi connections do you want to, your networks, do you want to connect to? It's going to be a 2G, 2 gigahertz. So you connect to that, you enter your credentials, you enter a password that you have that you'll get from Les, which is, there's an XDR GTK password, and then there's your actual Rabbitears password, and then you have your local network password for your Wi-Fi. Those credentials you put in there, it connects, and then you start the scan. And so there's been a couple of UI changes that we're going to update in the new video once we do that, but basically this still applies, right? This video that we put the link into pretty much still applies for getting set up with your own autologger if you want to do that. So I highly recommend, it's in your best interest to do it, because this basically tells you how your propagation looks without even having to be at your radio. You can just pull it up on your phone. I do it all the time. I'm constantly in the summertime looking at my phone and saying, how's the propagation look? Do I have an opening going on? Any tropo happening? Any E-skip happening? You'll even get some meteor scatter this way too. You'll get some false decodes. You will. That does happen, but it's not super prevalent. It happens every once in a while, but it's usually enough to spot those. So more often you're getting what you see here. Like, that's tropo. I know that's tropo. That's exactly, and I'm verifying it because Chipley's seeing it too. This is tropo. They're seeing each other, and there's some stuff going on the coast. We'll look at the forecast here in a bit. So these autologgers, they're in your best interest to put one up, and it also helps everybody else as well. Because the more we have, the more likely we are going to be able to be seeing these e-clouds as they form and they create these different paths. We get more data, we get more visibility into the performance of the cloud to see exactly how robust it is. And there will be e-openings. I have this happen all the time. I'll have e-openings where I don't get anything on the autologger because it's not strong enough giving me a lot of RDS for my autologger in those 3 to 5 seconds to grab anything. But on my antenna, my directional antenna with a lot of gain on it, I'm getting stuff. So sometimes you'll have that. Okay? So just keep that in mind. But it's still in your best interest. Even the weakest e-skip openings, I usually get at least 1 or 2. At least. Okay? Last summer, I would get, 3 to 5 on average for most of the openings. On average. There are other people that are just like, poof, it's just full. Because they have an open band. I don't have an open band. They have an open band. And they have probably one of their directional high gain antennas on it. And so it worked out. So if you have the means to pick up a TEF radio, a TEF 6686, I highly recommend doing this and going this route and putting one up. So let's talk about that next. Let's talk about how do I do that. Well, you go to AliExpress, and I'm going to go ahead and put the link up here for this. Go to AliExpress. Stuart said the video that we put up on the autologger helped him out. Awesome. So once you go to AliExpress, just put the link in the chat. Just search 6686, TEF 6686, and you're going to see a bunch of options here. How do you know which one to get? Well, you're pretty safe as long as the display that's on the radio kind of looks like this one. You see how you have your big frequency here, and then you have your signal strength over here. You've got these boxes down here. You got your signal meter here. As long as that is what the display looks like, it might be slightly different colors. Like this one, it's in orange here versus the yellow. That's fine. This one's like a blue versus the yellow and the orange. That's fine. This one's the NXP Nano. This is my new favorite radio, by the way. Portable. This thing is awesome. I talked about it a couple weeks ago, right? When I did the Tropo opening. Portable. Fantastic radio for portable use, especially. I like these desktop ones. These desktop TEF radios like this one right here. This is the one I got 2 of these on the way. And you'll see sometimes of them at different prices. Like this one's 77. I think I saw one over here for 66. This one over here at 46. You just kind of be careful. Sometimes you get one from a seller that's not great here on AliExpress and you don't get what you ordered. I usually kind of go for something that's kind of in the middle. So this one here, or I'll like look at the seller rating if I can, if they have that up. But this one for 66, I think is what I ordered. So this desktop one, the reason this one is so good is the portable versions, like this guy here. There is a button in this little hole here with a button inside. It's called the boot switch. So you actually have to hold that down and turn the radio on at the same time to enter the boot mode to upgrade the firmware, because you will have to upgrade the firmware to be able to do this. There's a whole process for it, which we outline in the video. So these little portable ones like this TEF, this is one of the DP666. I love these radios. Love them. One of my autologgers is running on this right now, actually, on one of these. So if you don't mind the boot switch, you can do it. It's super easy. Just a little boot switch right here. You turn it on and then follow the screen prompts and you update your firmware. But if you don't want to have to do the boot switch, this desktop version doesn't have one. You just plug it into your computer so you can do the firmware upgrade. You tell it what COM port you're on. It does the firmware upgrade. Everything flows, and you're good to go. And then you follow our video for the how-to on how to get everything set up. So I like these desktops for my web servers, for my autologgers. They're fantastic for anything where I just want automated operations and I don't want to have to touch it. These are fantastic as either backups to that or as portable radios. These DPC666s or my little guy here, my little NXP Nano, this little orange guy. You see how tiny it is? I mean, it is that tiny. Love that little radio. Love it. You put that with a good antenna. I mean, it's the same thing as this. It's the same thing as this for the desktop. It's just smaller. And, man, you put that with a good antenna, that's as good as any SDR that's out there at receiving, sensitivity-wise and selectivity-wise. It doesn't overload. You can't overload the damn thing. I haven't been able to. It's not prone to spurs and that kind of stuff. So, highly, highly recommend them. So, yeah, look for the ones that have that kind of similar display as what we're seeing right here. Some of the newer models, like I think this one is newer, that has the big knob. I don't know if that one's been tested yet with the new firmware. Sometimes you'll actually see, it'll say here on the description somewhere, either on the title or in the selling points here, sometimes you'll actually see it say, let's see if I can find one that does this. It'll actually say in the either up here in the title or in the description that it works with the PE5 VB firmware. If you see that, you're good. Now, even if you don't see it, you're still probably good if it looks like this, because these all are kind of similar. But if you see that PE5 VB software, because that's the firmware you're going to be uploading to put in, then yeah, you're super good. It's going to work. So AliExpress, I ordered mine about a week ago, my 2, and they should be here like tomorrow or maybe Sunday. So hopefully I'll get my other 2 autologgers back up and running, and my web server my 4th one up and running very, very soon. And yeah, these are fantastic radios. They're fantastic for portable. They're fantastic for autologgers. They're fantastic for web servers. I mean, they're just all around great FM radios, and they're good AM radios too. Now the desktop, I haven't had as much success with the desktop as an AM radio. But this little guy right here, when we were doing our frequency challenge and I was doing my non-SDR work, I plugged my low noise vertical into this antenna port. This I made a little web server out of it, and I was DXing off of this. It is really, really good at AM. Now, it doesn't have upper sideband, lower sideband, or sync AM, things like that. So you're going to not have as much functionality as you would with like a full-fledged SDR, obviously. But as just a little portable live DX radio, it's hard to beat. It's really, really hard to beat these TEF radios. I mean, they're really good. With the right antenna, they're really good. Now, For AM, you're going to have an antenna because they don't have a built-in antenna in these, but like the DX286 does. But for AM, if you have a good antenna, for FM with telescopic whip or a good antenna, they're really good. They're really, really good. So, highly recommend the TEF radios for autologging, for web servers, for general DX. If you're looking for a good entry point, they're a great way to do it. So, hopefully that helps you get started with some autologging stuff. If you see me in the Slack channel or on social media, feel free to ping me. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, but that video should walk you through most of the steps and get you started on autologging RDS with TEF. There is also the option you can do like an SDR, like the AirSpy or an SDR Console with one of those receivers, but I just use the TEF. It's cheaper, and you don't lose the SDR and have that devoted to nothing but autologging. So, all right, let's talk about shout-outs, actually. Let's do shout-outs.
Shout out loud, hear the call for every single big or small, from AM to FM, from C to C. We celebrate the ones who snag the IT. Shout out loud, let it be known, you're never DXing all alone. Through the static we found our way, shout-outs making waves today.
Our friend Stuart says that the DX286 is a great AM radio. Yes, it is. You know why? It uses the same chip as these. It's the TES6686 chip. The difference is the software that these run. That's why I said you want to find one that has the right display, because these are the ones that run the PE5 VB firmware. There's no option to do that with the DX286. But it's the same guts. So that's why those perform so well. So, and that's why I'm a big fan of the DX286 radio, because it does. It's super really good, and it has the built-in antenna, so it makes it easier for you. Speaking of Stuart, we start with him for our first shout-out here of round 2. Nothing new on FM or NOAA weather radio this week, but I'm having a lot of fun with the band scan challenge. Up there in Michigan is where Stuart is. I learned that I actually have more open frequencies than I originally thought. And this challenge also made me realize that I forgot to add a couple of local stations into my logbook. This is why we do the band scans every year. Every year we learn something new about our band. We realize, oh my goodness, what happened here? Now I have lost an open frequency, or I've gained an open frequency, or whatever it might be. It happens every year. Something is tweaked, something has changed. The PI code's changed, the format's changed. Someone changed frequencies. You have a new LP FM that's popped up locally, or a new translator that's popped up locally. It's constant. And so band scan every single year before the season starts. It was also great to note my common regional tropo stations again, which gave me a better understanding of my band during the minor tropo conditions that I had last week. That little tropo scatter stuff, that kind of like just out of reach of dead band. It's just like, let's say you're getting 120, 130, 150 miles dead band, tops, if you have like a really good antenna. But it's like, that stuff is like just like 10, 15, 20 miles just outside of that reach. And now tropo scatter's bringing that in. That's really, really great to get reacclimate with those, because when do we get the most tropo? In the summertime. Spring, summer, and fall, especially around the coasts. So you're more likely to have those signals during sporadic E season. And now, so let's say I have an open frequency. If I'm not getting anything, if it's dead band, which does happen quite a bit in the summertime, especially further inland. If it's dead band and I have an open frequency, now any DX that comes in, as long as it's strong enough to be over the noise floor, as long as it can beat out the noise floor, I'm going to hear it. And there's something coming on that frequency, I'm going to hear it. If there's anything there else at all, another signal, a station, local, fringe, tropo scatter, those HD sidebands, any kind of signal at all, now the DX has to be stronger than that signal to win out on the capture effect, and I get to hear it. Right? So you bring up a really good point. It's really important to get that deadband stuff and know your local band. But this is also a really good time to do these because you get that little bit of tropo scatter in some cases where you get that little bit of enhancement, just a nudge. And during summer, we get that more often. You're going to have to contend with those. So you want to have a good level set of how strong those typically are. So that's also a really good point. I've also been enjoying hearing E-skip recordings that I made last year, thanks to Lloyd's advice. I'll talk about that in a second. This was my first full E-skip season, only using portables and the car radio. This coming season will be my first with the SDR. Awesome. I still remember getting the notification on Slack from the Hammer Bill, N8 UUP in Ypsilanti. Miss Bill. Bill, where you at, man? Noting his new catches as he received just about 10 miles away from me. That notification began my first ever Ann Arbor E-skip opening on the morning of May 18th, 2025. I excitedly went up to the top floor of my apartment building, taking my DX 286 with me, and received quite a few stations in the Southwest Florida area with an MUF around 98.9. However, hearing that recording back actually gave me another new station to add to my logbook. So he went back to this recording that he made from that opening and realized in his initial review he missed something. And so by going back in, he was able to add another station he missed the first time. We'll talk about that in a minute. K-Love, 88.7 WDLV in Fort Myers, Florida, 1,102 miles over a strong semi-local, overtaking the semi-local. Hearing these old recordings also inspired me to go back through the DX Central Live archives to check out all the great live streams I missed prior to fully joining at the start of Season 5, as well as come across the first time I ever joined the chat on Season 4, Episode 5, February 2024. February 9th, I think it was, right? I can't thank Lloyd enough for getting me fully into broadcast band DXing. My man. I'm so honored. So honored that you have dove head first in and you're now one of us. It'll get you. It'll get you. So we give you a log saw for your new log there, man. All right. So, Stuart brings up a couple of really, really good points here. We talked about the tropo scatter and that kind of thing. Let's talk about the E-skip. I have my August 13th of last year Sporadic E recording, IQ recording that I did, a full band recording. I'm going through that right now. Now, I was going to try to get it finished up before the end of last season. I just never got around to it. Then I said I'll do some of the off season. Never got around to it. Well, now I'm getting to it. And I'm actually finding, and I remember this from last year too, because I was finishing up my recording from May 31st, 2023. I'm actually finding that going back right now and reviewing a Sporadic E opening recording, it's retuning my ears because I've been AM. My ears are tuned for AM. It's a different fidelity. It's a different sonic quality. You have different characteristics of the propagation. Now I'm retuning my ears to a Sporadic E opening, and I'm recalibrating my eyes to look on that waterfall and find those little blurbs that come up. I'm going back through my process to make sure that I remember, oh yeah, Lloyd, on SDR Console, turn your contrast really high. We're going to talk about that when we do our SDR Console episode. So turn my contrast really, really high, and so I can see those weak signals as they come in, because if you don't do that, you're going to have all these ones where you're like, I don't see anything on the waterfall, but I'm hearing a signal. It's because you got your contrast too low. Turn your contrast up, and you'll see more of those signals. And if you see more of those, then you know where to focus. And if you know where to focus, you can spend less time sitting and waiting and going through your recording and more time laser focused on where the signals are. It works really, really well. So I'm using this as an opportunity to retune my ears to Sporadic E. So I'm getting into playing shape for the upcoming season. He also mentioned going back in and reviewing those recordings. Sometimes you catch stuff you missed the first time, especially as we get new skills, especially as we get more adept at reviewing our recordings. We change our process out, we make it more efficient or whatever we might do. Yes, There are certain, now I don't keep all of my Sporadic E opening recordings. There's some of them I review it and I'm like, I'm good. I'm good to go. But there are some of those that are so jam-packed, or they have something super exotic like my Jamaican opening that I had August 13th. I'm definitely keeping that because I had like 5 different directions during that opening. There are certain openings that I will keep those recordings, and I mark them as keep, so I don't ever delete them. I will keep those, and maybe in a couple of years I might go back through it again, and just with a fresh set of ears and fresh set of knowledge that I've gained since I did my recording of you last time, I have had a couple of those where I'm like, hey, I didn't catch that the first time. I have some of my recordings I did in Charleston where I've gone back through and I've reviewed. I'm like, I missed like 10 stations here that I didn't catch last time because I'm a better FM DXer now than I was 6 years ago. I've learned more. I've improved my technique. I've sharpened my skills since then. I'm not as good now as I will be 6 years from now. Right? So, something to think about. Something to think about. And at the very least, if you get one of those seasons like 2024 where the openings are just not there and the season sucks, you can always go back and revisit those good seasons that you might still have recordings for. Just saying. Just saying, if you get a hankering for some E-skip and there's no E-skip to find, there's no E-skip coming in, but you really want to do some E-skip DX, pull up a recording. You'll get there. You'll get there. Well done, Stuart. Appreciate you checking in there, and love that you went back and looked at the archives. You had me doing the same thing this week. Dave up in Montana checks in. Dave says, I broke my distance record logging XEABC on 760 radio hits in San Sebastian, Chimalpa, near Mexico City at 1,904 miles. 3 nights later, I broke it again, getting XEWW radio in Mexico City. That's 1,906 miles. They were both logged with my 10 by 20 foot super loop at 160 and 120 degrees. See? That's a 10 by 20. There's no reason not to put up an antenna and just try it out. So I'm going to put up that 25 by 30 or whatever it's going to be. It's going to be kind of a box. It's going to be a little box. Who knows if it's going to work? We'll see. I'm sure it'll do something. Wire in the air is better than none. Got a clip attached of XEABC with their IDs clearly heard. I'll probably continue to focus on AM DXing through spring and summer since I'm still building up my logs after getting back in the hobby. I'm now up to 280 stations from this location. Smart idea. I might try some FM DXing, though. There's not much Tropo here in Montana. I'll probably have to rely on E-skip openings since I'm so far inland. Anyway, I look forward to giving it a try. 73 Dave. Definitely recommend it. And if you have the opportunity to get you a TEF radio or 2 or 3, because once you start buying them, you're gonna. I got one. I don't need to buy another one. You need to buy like 5 more. Maybe put up an autologger if they're in Montana. Maybe be surprised at what you get. Maybe put up a web server so we can be surprised what you get. Here's this clip here for our friend Dave up in Montana. There's the Mexican national anthem. There you go. That is XEABC Radio Heats in Vox. So we get a log saw for our friend Dave up there in Montana. Well done, my friend. Nothing new this week here. Didn't have a lot of time for DX, so no shout-outs for us this week, AM or FM. But I did see you guys talking in the chat about some FM screenshotting of RDS. Yes. Taking either a picture with your phone. I showed you guys some pictures I took when I was doing my little portable DX a couple weeks ago at the lakefront. I also do screenshots of my SDR RDS captures. And then I have a whole bunch of them. I put the actual link in my logbook for like my Google Drive file of the RDS. And then I actually put that in here on my logbook so I can actually go back and see it. So any of my logs that I have RDS for where I've captured that, I actually wrote a little formula to have it look up and say, show me my link for this station. so I can pull them all up, and there it is. All of those are tied to the actual log itself. So nice way to do that. Go back and revisit old friends. And I also have that for my air checks as well. So I have here my air check audio logger. Anything that I've uploaded to YouTube, my air checks for, they are there. And we're going to keep that muted there. This is Cayman Islands from last year. I don't remember if they actually ID'd. I don't think they ID'd. I think it was just that was, it's on 87.9. So, and it was while I was getting Cayman Islands. I think that's why I uploaded that. We're going to talk about SDRs here in a few moments after top of the hour DX. We're going to talk about those options that give you full band or big chunk of band FM IQ recording. So we'll talk through some of those options here after top of the hour. But first, it's DX time.
DX Central Live top of the hour alert.
Top of the hour means we're looking for IDs. We're going to do some more AMDX on this one. See what we can get here. We'll pull up our AirSpy HF Plus Discovery again, looking down south towards Latin America, because that's what we love to do here at DX Central. I see Rick mentioning August 13th was a very good day for a lot of folks last year. Yes, it was. When I look at the data, it is the biggest single day in August in that 2017 to 2025 data set. 2025 was the biggest year, 23,000 logs. We had our single biggest day in the data set with over 4,500 logs, I think almost 5,000 logs on July 4th last year. Last year was a tremendous season. Now, it gets some people who don't agree, and we're going to talk about this when we do our May 1st episode. There's some people who don't agree with that assessment that 2025 was a good year, and I think I know why. But by and large, 2025 was churning out stuff that we haven't seen in quite a while. So, it was a good year. Now, we didn't have any months last year, and this is part of, this is part of where, I'll give you a little preview, where people might have gotten spoiled was that July of 2021 that we had. Remember that? How there was like a week of every day we were getting like 1,000, 1,500 logs a day on FM list in North America. Like every day was just, you couldn't keep up with it. I think people got spoiled because that month there was like 10,000 logs in July. No month in 2025 crossed that July 2021. That's still our best month ever in the data set, at least in my data set that we have on FM list. That was July 2021 was still the best one. So I think a lot of people, especially now, compare whatever we're getting to that. Like, well, it's not July of 2021, or it's not June of 2022. We were getting stuff every day. Well, yeah, we were. And there were some days that we didn't get anything last year. And there were some days where we did, but it wasn't great. But then it was like building up a charge, because you'd have these days where just it would exploded. We saw Guatemala here on 1510 last hour.
Have it in checking. You have it in your
There's WLAC. And we get rid of them with the canceller here in AirSpy's SDR Sharp. Oh, that reminds me. Stuart asked about diversity mode for FM with the RSP Duo and SDR Connect, SDR Uno. Yes, I have. I've done more of it with NOAA Weather Radio and had really good success with that. If you can believe it, using FM antennas on the NOAA Weather Radio frequencies to get rid of my locals, I'm using diversity mode, or my near local NOAA Weather Radio stations. When there's a tropo opening, I'm able to get stuff underneath them. It's super good.
And you can
do the same thing on FM, though. I just haven't really done a lot of it because I'm usually focused elsewhere. during the opening itself. 1500. Well, let's just look at 1090. I'm just kind of curious. There's KAAY. Can we get rid of them? Yeah. I haven't heard Peru here lately. They were like every night. They were becoming a pest there for a little while. For some folks, I'll never say Peru is a pest. I'll never say Ecuador is a pest. I just can't. I can't bring myself to it. Stations from Mexico? Yeah. Cuba? Yeah. Those become pests. Some Colombians? Maybe. Nobody else qualifies. Nobody else can qualify as a pest. Let's look over here. Now, we're not looking the right direction. But just out of curiosity. Yeah, nothing here on 968. Oh, maybe. I got to get through Mexico. That's XERFR. Not a lot of Latin signals. Who is that? Who is this? On 840? We'll have to check back on the recording here what that anthem sounding song was at the beginning there. I don't know if that was a state anthem down in Mexico or someone's national anthem. There's a couple of Central American stations here in addition to Haiti. Well, I don't think it's Haiti. There's a Guatemalan here. A couple. There's a Puerto Rico, which obviously is not them. Salvador, El Salvador is here. That could be who it is. Let's take a look. I'm not seeing a live stream here for this El Salvador station. I'll have to check the El Salvador national anthem, see if that might have been them. That would be a new one. So I'll go back. I'll review what we had there on the live stream and compare that anthem sounding song and see if I can catch what that ID was there at the top. Because that could be a new one from El Salvador for us. They're on 840, or it could have been another. And there was a time pip in there as well. So there's a couple things we can hopefully use to our advantage there to help us ID that station. All right, but we did have a couple in there. We heard IDs for the XCRFR, the Formula, some others. So there you go. Let's take a look at a couple of things from an SDR standpoint. Let's talk about SDRs for FMDX and some options that you can look at if you're looking to get a large portion or all of the band. We have some options here that you can take advantage of or look at. Now, the best one for full band is the ELAD FDM-S3. That's the one we have here. We got it back in 2021, I think. 2020, maybe 2020. We got it directly from ELAD at the time. Now, DX Engineering is selling them, but they are not in stock right now. Was Ham Radio Outlet selling them as well? I can't remember if they were or not. Let's go to Ham Radio Outlet. And ELAD FDM-S3. They're really hard to find now. But they have... No, they don't. Let me go look at ELAD FDM-S3. Here's one from ELAD themselves. I don't think they're selling it right now either on the shop. This is it's a full band 24 megahertz receiver. See, they have it. It's out of stock, available for pre-order. So, if you can find one, this is a phenomenal FMDX receiver. Full band. Just that fact alone is a really good option. Because you can go in, you can record the entire. Now you have to have the hard drive space for it, and you have to have a computer that can handle 20 megahertz at once. But if you can pull that off, this is a really, really good receiver if you can find one. But more than likely, what you're probably looking at though is one of a couple of different options. Kind of piecemealing it together. The biggest one, or two that I would say, there's two that I would probably say are three SDRs that are the best options for like wide bandwidth recording. Okay, one of those is one I'm about to get for my portable rig setup. That is the AirSpy R2. This one gets you up to 10 megahertz of bandwidth. It's native for like 24 to 1700 megahertz, so there's no AM receiver built in here. It's not super wide as far as frequency coverage, but that's a good thing. I have one of these on our NOAA weather radio setup, and it's really good at VHF stuff. It is fantastic. I'm going to drop the link in here for you guys on this one. This is the AirSpy R2. Again, 10 megahertz wide, up to 10 megahertz wide. You have gain settings on here. You can set it up as a spy server to connect to it remotely if you need to. You can do a lot of different things, or like set it up on like a Raspberry Pi PC or something like that with spy server, and then connect to it from whatever radio you want. So there's some different options on how you can do this, or you can plug it directly into your computer and just DX the old-fashioned way with a USB plugged into your computer and antenna into your AirSpy. So this is really good. What you get with this one is you get that code channel canceller on FM, and if you have a situation where you maybe have a local and you're getting some DX coming in, maybe there's an E-skip opening or a little Tropo opening going on, and you have a local, especially if it's like a semi-decent signal strength and you want to get rid of it so you can see what's underneath, the code channel canceller, man. The FM code channel canceller works really well. And so for my money, that's why I'm doing the R2 for my portable setup, because it's tiny. The cost is not terrible. Let me find purchase, find a dealer. We can get it directly from Etihad now. It's $169 is the cost on the AirSpy R2. Is $169. I'm about to order one here, like probably tonight, because it is that good. It's a really, really good receiver. If I can see where'd it go? Oh, there it is. AirSpy R2. Customer reviews are strong on it. I can vouch. It's a really good VHF receiver. So if you're looking for a really solid, rock solid, don't go with the dongles. They get overloaded. The AirSpy HF Plus Discovery is a really, 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 really good FM receiver. The problem is you're going to pretty much be using it for live DX. If you're wanting to record a big swath of the band, the R2 is your better bet. If you're looking for like superior performance and you're going to just live DX, give the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery consideration. If you don't care about recording, the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery is a phenomenal FMDX receiver. You cannot overload the damn thing. You can throw everything in the kitchen sink at that radio and it will survive. Twinkies, cockroaches, and AirSpy HF Plus Discoveries. That's all that's going to be left after all is said and done, okay? The AirSpy R2, though, solid receiver, so I highly recommend. SDR Play. They make a couple of really, really strong options here for 10 megahertz, 8 megahertz wide IQ recordings for FM. So we're going to show them both to you now. Products. First one. And this is one that I would definitely consider if I was looking at getting an FM. If I didn't have my ELAD, and I was just like, I'm just going to buy an SDR for FM. I'm either getting the R2 for the co-channel canceller, or I'm getting this guy, the RSP1B. Again, you can do 10 megahertz wide bandwidth recordings. These are about $133 US. Please, by all means, when you're doing this, do not buy knockoffs. Get them directly from SDR Play or from a reputable dealer like Ham Radio Outlet or one of those. Same thing with the AirSpy. Get them from an AirSpy dealer. Don't get a knockoff. You're not gonna like it. It's not gonna perform well. Okay, get the actual unit. In this case, it's the SDR Play RSP1B. This is a really, really good one. I have the RSP1A, and it's really good. The RSP1B is notch better. It's a significant notch better. Again, you can get that 10 megahertz wide bandwidth on this one. Both R2 and the RSP1B and the next two we're going to look at here all play well with SDR Console. So an SDR Console is the best interface for recording review for eSkip. Bar none. It is the best. Now, you don't get the co-channel canceller if you're using the AirSpy and SDR Console. So if you're wanting to use the co-channel canceller, you can do that in SDR Sharp. Right, you can pull that in the SDR Sharp and do that there. But for just like basic recording review, SDR Console is the best there is. We're going to look at that in one of the coming weeks. RSP1B, solid receiver. The next one that I'm going to tell you about is the RSP Duo. I've got one here at the house. This is a independent two-channel, two-receiver SDR. What I mean by that is you'll see some of these SDRs, well, the next one we're going to look at is one of them, that have two antenna inputs, like an A and a B. Those are both antenna inputs going to the same receiver. This RSP Duo has two antenna inputs, but each one of those is tied to a different receiver within the SDR. So antenna A is receiver A, antenna B is receiver B. This is the one that allows you to do diversity mode, so you can do phasing, right? Within SDR Connect or SDR Uno, you can use phasing. So it's kind of like similar in regards to the co-channel canceller. It takes a little more finesse to get the results. But you can use this RSP Duo if you have two FM antennas that you can bring into it. You can use those two for diversity phasing to get rid of or knock down your local, semi-locals enough to hopefully in many cases, bring the DX in that's underneath them and hidden by the strong local. The goal here is just, you don't have to get rid of it. You just have to get it down in signal strength enough that it is below the signal strength of the DX coming in so the DX can take over. That's what you're trying to do. And a lot of times, the code channel canceller, diversity mode can do that. So the RSP1 Duo, if you're looking for that kind of diversity, code channel canceller, phasing, I want to get rid of local stations functionality, and you want to do it in a SDR Play device. This one I think is $299. If I remember right, last time I got one, I think it was $299. So it's a little more, but you have two receivers in it, and that's why it's a little more expensive, because you have two receivers. The Duo, $299 now is the cost on the Duo. RSP1B is $132.25. So highly recommend, if you have the two antennas that you can use, RSP Duo. If you only have one antenna, it's not going to really be worth getting this receiver for just one antenna. You're going to want to do it if you have two. If you only have one, RSP1B, fantastic. AirSpy R2, fantastic. Then there's also this one, and this one does not get talked about a lot for FMDX. A lot of people talk about it for AMDX, but the AirSpy SDR Play SDR Play RSPDX R2. You have two different antenna inputs. You have a antenna A and antenna B, and they're going for one receiver. So you only have one receiver here. So no diversity mode, no phasing, that kind of thing. But you could, with this one, you could say, I'm going to have my AM antenna for AMDX into antenna A, my FM antenna into antenna B, and you can swap. But this can be your all-in-one SDR, right? You can do everything with this SDR. 10 megahertz wide, so you get half the band at once, assuming that your computer can support it. And that's the big thing. With all of these, your computer has to have enough memory and high headroom to be able to support a 10 megahertz wide bandwidth at once to record and everything else. And you need the hard drive space to be able to record 10 megahertz at once. But if you can do that, you get half the band. That's where, if you were looking to do a full band recording, okay, you want the entire FM band at once, and you have the computer headroom to be able to support this, and you have the hard drive space to be able to support this, or if you have two computers, let's say, and you have two antennas, you could do an RSP1B or the AirSpy R2, get two of them, and you'll, for this one, the RSP1B, to be about $260, $270 with tax or whatever. The AirSpy, you're looking at, about $340, $350 with tax or whatever. So for $340, $350 with the AirSpy, $260, $270, somewhere in there for the RSP1B. Now, if you're running both of those at 10 megahertz wide, you could do one on the lower half of the band, one on the upper half of the band. Now you got the whole thing covered. And again, if you're running on one computer that can handle it, or ideally, probably two computers is probably best. Two computers, two SDRs, two antennas, or one antenna with a splitter going to both of them. You could do that. You don't have to have two antennas. You could have the same antenna with a splitter. You can have 3 dB of loss, but you can overcome that. It's easy. Going to your SDRs, now you've got the entire band covered for less than $300. Something to think about. You know, if you can't get the FDM-S3 or one of those big ones that does the entire band, you're not going to have to miss out if you can do something like this. And that FDM-S3 is way more than $300. way more than $400. Even on the worst day of two R2s, you're not going to fork out anywhere near what you would for an S3 or one of those other really, really big full band ones. Get you two that can cover half the band, as long as you have a computer that has the hard drive space and the headroom to be able to handle it, or two computers to do it. Now you got the full band. You can record the entire thing. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. That's why since 2023, I have 1,600 logs here for FMDX, because A, we've had the openings, and B, I can record the entire band and squeeze every ounce of DX out afterwards. I miss nothing that way. You can do the same thing. You just have to nudge it a little bit. So those are my recommendations for that high bandwidth, or high bandwidth, like 10 megahertz, 8 megahertz wide recording. RSP1B, it's great if you have one antenna. It's a little bit cheaper than the R2, which is also great if you have one antenna. Both of those are really, really, really solid. With the AirSpy R2, you get co-channel canceller in SDR Sharp available to you. RSP1B, you do not, and you also don't have diversity mode. But it's a little cheaper, and that little cheaper can allow you to get 2 to cover the entire band. You can still do 2 with the R2, but it's a little cheaper with the RSP1B. RSP Duo, you'll want to have 2 antennas on this one, so you can do diversity and phasing, and this gives you 10 megahertz wide coverage. And then the third option is the RSP DX, if you're looking for kind of an all-in-one for AM, for FM. Get actually R2. The RSP DX R2. Again, up to 10 megahertz wide bandwidth, and you can do, it's really, really solid on AM. It's really, really solid on FM. It's kind of an all-in-one for you, right? So if you're looking to be able to do full band AM recordings and half band FM, that's your best option right there. So that's what to look for some FM SDRs. My recommendations for you. Before we adjourn tonight, let's do a look here at the Tropo forecast. This is the most recent Tropo forecast from our friend Bill Hepburn at the DX Info Center, popping his URL here into the chat. And this will show you where the Tropo conditions are for the next several days. And you'll see right away, what do we see going on over here off the coast? We see Massachusetts down towards the Carolinas. We have some Tropo showing up right here. What do we see on our map? It's right there. There it is. Let's actually look at the last 2 hours on FM list. There's some going in there. Wlogger, we had some over here as well the last 24 hours or so. So yeah, they're getting in on the action. Nothing here on Wlogger the last couple hours. We did see some on the Autologger map though. So the Tropo forecast validated between Cape Cod and Cape Hatteras. There's a nice little duct there. You see what's building here? This is also validating what we see in real time. We have that little bit that was kind of heading over here towards Tallahassee, Pensacola. Well, that's what's kind of pushing in here. Look up here above in the Midwest, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana. Up in here, you guys have a little bit cooking over this way. And down here on the East Coast, down in the Florida from Wilmington, down the South Carolina, Georgia coast, down into North Florida, you guys have some. That pushes a little inland, and then we have a much bigger area now of fair to moderate Tropo. Aiden, Stuart, you guys up here in Michigan, a little bit cooking up this way, down into Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, all the way up into Iowa. A nice little bit of a fair Tropo area here. Fair to moderate Tropo in your region. That's like between now and like 5 o'clock Eastern time, AM. That's pushing even still more by the time we get to around 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central Time. Now we see what our Gulf Tropo is doing over here. The East Coast is pushing further inland. We're seeing this one kind of pivot a little bit further east, a little bit the west starting to kind of fade out. But this eastern half of it, a little bit more of that moderate green here. Looking good. Now, we get into the daytime tomorrow. It starts to burn off. Now we're getting into the overnight hours, into Saturday night, into Sunday morning. Look what starts happening, pushing in from the coast here at Georgia into North Florida, down into Florida, Gulf Coast, spinning back up again, right over top of me tomorrow night. That little blob up here in the Midwest, it's now still moving to your east. So again, Aiden, Stewart, you're in that kind of marginal to fair range here, looking down in Ohio, Pennsylvania, right there around the Great Lakes. Look at this push inland. Look at this Georgia, North Florida, South Georgia. Look at now what we have here in North Carolina developing. Look at this push here in the Gulf Coast coming inland. Some really solid stuff. Look at that now, South Georgia. Super strong Tropo here from, say, Beaufort, Charleston, Hilton Head, all the way down towards Tallahassee and everything in between. That's going to be a nice Tropo opening down there. This is 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. So 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central Time. Look at that. That's nice. Barry up in Crossville. You've got a little bit on your neck of the woods pushing up into Kentucky, again, in that kind of fair to moderate range. And then we get into the daytime, and it burns off. It's gone. But then, watch what happens. We get into the evening hours, overnight. Look at this setup. Look at this setup here of the fair to moderate, or the marginal to fair, and the moderate building up behind it. Look at this push in from the Gulf. Look at the push here on the East Coast. Now we're getting into upstate South Carolina, Columbia. What's some of those other towns right down there? Gray Court. What's that one other town down that way? Oh, I forget now. It's been a while since I've been down that way. But all this down here in the PD of South Carolina, the Sand Coast here, the Inland Sand Coast, Inland Georgia, all the way down to Florida. Look at that. That's going to be some nice tropo pushing in. And that Bermuda web server might see a little bit of that too, pushing in to inland and along the coast. So keep an eye on that. But wait, there's more. Now we're here. This is the morning. This is, again, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. Look at this. We're talking a nice bit of fair to moderate to strong now. Kansas into, Nebraska into Kansas, Missouri, down to Oklahoma, down into towards the panhandle of Texas. My friends, that is a duct. So Bill up in Omaha, you guys over in Kansas, Ryan, Matt, you guys have some tropo heading your way. This is Monday morning, 7 a.m. Central Time. You have a duct right there. Now, those of you on the end over here into Iowa, Missouri, and on the other end of the duct down here in Texas, you can get it both ends. You can get it coming out of the duct on both ends. I've done that. Okay? Look at the inland push here. Almost the entire state of South Carolina, except for the extreme northwest corner. Everywhere else in South Carolina is under tropo on Monday morning. The entire eastern half of North Carolina is under some form of tropo on Monday morning. Almost the entire eastern half of Georgia is in some form of tropo. The entire state of Florida is tropo. A big chunk of Alabama and Mississippi and southeast Louisiana down into Texas is in tropo. This is going to be a nice opening. This is a really, really, really nice opening. Yeah, I know, Stuart. I'm going to actually ping him on this on Slack and say, hey, you're watching the forecast, right? For Monday? If this holds, I don't know where my camera went. If this forecast holds, this is a really nice opening for a lot of folks here. Okay? And look at that. I mean, that almost looks frontal. Like some frontal tropo. But it's down here. Bill, Rick, are you still there, bud? You got some tropo coming your way. Monday morning into early afternoon. It's still hanging around down in here into that border right there with Nebraska, Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, down into Kansas, down into Oklahoma. There's going to be a nice little duct right there for you guys, man. That is a really solid duct. Now it's going to burn off, and let's see what the forecast is showing. Now, this is where, by the time we get to like Tuesday, this is far enough out where I say, okay, don't put a lot of stock in it, but we're going to be watching trends for the next several forecast runs to see if any of this continues to evolve. This part is from here on out, from like Tuesday on, is where I'm like, we'll see. But you can look, look at that Gulf tropo pushing in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas. The western half of the Gulf is going to be on fire. The East Coast is going to be on fire. Iowa, Minnesota, up into the Dakotas. You guys got some tropo. Minnesota, Wisconsin. Maybe you guys might get a little bit of tropo up there. So Justin, Todd, Jacob, you guys might have some tropo up your way into Wisconsin. You might want to keep an eye on that. So this, oh my gosh, look at that. I hadn't seen this latest run for Tuesday night and a Wednesday morning yet. Wow. Okay. That's the second run that I've seen. It's been pretty good though. So now that's starting to get more of a trend now. And then, yeah, Wednesday morning. So it's going to be decent over the next couple of days, but by the time we get to Sunday and Monday and then Tuesday, Wednesday, really pushing. And again, we'll see if this validates, but look at this Wednesday. Wisconsin, Iowa, down towards Nebraska. I would imagine this starts to connect as we get further runs. I mean, there you go. Thursday, we'll see if that validates. Look at the East Coast. That's typical. But look at this. Is that another front coming through on Thursday morning? Excuse me. From the entire Great Lakes, Finger Lakes area over here, all the way down, Michigan, Stuart, Aiden, Illinois, Iowa, Omaha, and into Kansas. Look at all that. So there's a chance that over the next several days, we could have some, next week or so, we could have some really significant tropo, or decent tropo at least, for some people who don't normally get it inland. And then along the coastlines, some really solid tropo. So it looks like that spring tropo engine's really starting to get going. And Jacob, I know you're in an RF-rich environment. Never overestimate the power of tropo. Or underestimate the power of tropo, I should say. Tropo has a way of, when that duct starts to happen, it weakens some of your local signals sometimes to the point where it can come in and overtake. Because now you're getting some mixing and you're getting different paths, and those local stations are influenced by that duct just as much as some of the DX can be sometimes. So you can actually have some of your locals get a little weakened. And so that overloading that you're talking about that happens down up there, you might see a little bit of that dip down a little bit as some of those DX signals start coming in because of the tropo. Definitely something to check and see if it validates. So keep an eye out on Bill's forecast. This is the time of the year. This is the prime time. I'll play the link in the chat one more time. This is when you want to keep an eye on Bill's forecast because you just want to keep an eye and see if that forecast changes, especially those days like 3 and beyond. You want to see if the forecast changes at all and how that kind of pans out. So we're heading into that season, guys. This is it. This is what we trained for. We're getting some good tropo right before FM E-skip season starts. Yeah, I'll take it. Seeing you guys talk about some of the temps you're going to have. 80s up in Minnesota, 75, 80 degrees up in Michigan. Yeah, you're getting some of our weather now. All right, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of DX Central Live. We talked about a lot of FM stuff. We got some AM DX in, got some AM antenna talk. We crammed a lot into this week. Next week, we'll do some more. We'll probably look at FM List and WLogger next week, maybe among some other things as well. So we shall see. For our patrons, thank you for your continued support. We hugely appreciate it. And I have plans this summer when we're having some more time on our hands because the live stream work that we do is not going to be taking as much time. We'll try to get some more stuff for you guys. So I'll give you more about that as we go along. Patreon.com/DX Central if you want to be part of the crew in Studio C. To our sponsors, the International Radio Club of America, IRCAonline.org, the National Radio Club, nationalradioclub.org, and the Spectrum Monitor magazine, thespectrummonitor.com. For all of our sponsors, for our patrons, yep, still out. We appreciate all of you guys so much. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you being here. We'll see you next time right here on DX Central Live.
This has been the DX Central from the Static Podcast. If you are interested in sponsoring this podcast, let us know by emailing sponsors@fromthestatic.net. If you have a story to share for our Stories from the Static series, send those to our email address, stories@fromthestatic.net. Be sure to join us for our live DX live stream every Friday night at 23:45 UTC, 18:45 Central Time on our YouTube channel or at dxcentrallive.com.
The DX Central from the Static podcast is copyright 2025, Lloyd Van Horn, DX Central. All rights reserved. No portion of this podcast may be rebroadcast or reused without the express, written authorization of Lloyd Van Horn and DX Central. Be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, as new episodes will be posted regularly. Join us next time for the DX Central From the Static podcast.